Hey, screeners, how you doing? It's myself, the one AJ, Anthony Jordan.
And me, Nico Lero. Shout out to all my Nicoholics. What up?
Okay, guys. Still not the full setup that I promised, but it is a bit brighter than last time, so it's a gradual progress. Again, thank you, Community Fiber. Again, this is not sponsored, not sponsoring the movie Mount Rushmore. Also, today, as we press record, cinemas are open again. Cine World. The screeners are shouting at you. We're here. We're back. So yeah, who knows? May even go and celebrate that. But yeah, that's the way the world is right now. But aside from that, it's Monday. That means one thing and one thing only. More than Boris's lockdown rules, universally across the world, across the atmospheres. We don't know which Martians are listening. The movie Mount Rushmore has begun. People, how are you doing, Nico?
I'm good, man. I'm good. A little bit groggy after Backlash last night. Didn't sleep through the whole thing, but yeah.
You didn't sleep through the whole thing, or you did?
Yeah, I slept through most of it.
Good, because it was a bit of a. If you ever have a sleeping problem, that was probably the pay-per-view to do it. From what I could see, fighting it, Bianca Belair and Bayley held it. I can't talk for any championship matches, so I'm not going to go there. I shot myself in the foot for what was the most predictable pay-per-view of all time. But let's diversify. I don't even care. Honestly, don't even care right now. If I come back, I come back. Leon, congratulations, you're on the board, bro. But apart from that, it's like, wow. Apologies to any non-wrestling fans, but if you are a Silver Screen Dude subscriber, you are familiar that video games and wrestling is our world. Yeah, throw it up, bro. Throw it up. That's the one.
Too sweet.
I was going to say, for anyone listening, that is the Click Too Sweet sign. Type it in on Google. Click KLIQ. Anyway, we enough of the wrestling talk. Back into the world of films. This was an interesting one. I think this was a fun one that we came up with.
Fucking difficult to put together.
This is the thing. And I actually found this site, which I thought was absolutely awesome because it showed, I think, like maybe the top 20, top 50 films. And it showed the ratings of the critics versus the audience. Again, guys, if you haven't read, it's what the movies critics love and audience hate. And this is perfect. Then it goes time to visit the actual, we've used Rotten Tomatoes, guys. It's probably the biggest benchmark to use. So that was the measuring stick we used for this episode. Go back to the episode and you're like, those scores have changed.
This is the problem.
This is where it gets very, very difficult. And there are some stuff that are like universally seen one way or another. For instance, a movie that I thought, okay, here it goes. I didn't bring it up. Was it last week or the week before? I'm like, Crash. Time to bring back Crash.
That's what I thought.
And I saw the ratings. I was like, hey, my people. Like, I appreciate the audience support, but it was completely off kilt to what you expect. So yeah. If you guys are like, but this film's hated, it's like, yeah. And then you're now forever scratching your head. It's even harder to scratch your head when you're looking at a measuring stick to work by. Because we could be like, oh, of course, yeah, people hate Crash and we love Crash. Yeah, the critics are right. You were wrong. And then you're like, oh, you guys actually... And then the gap isn't even that big. Then it got even harder. That I actually had to start working with 50 was my mark. I was like 50. And then it became 60 had to become the measuring mark for me personally. I don't know if you had to go there. Like, for me to call it a bad film, like the audience hate it, I had to go higher than 50% for some films. Still bad. And I realized that if you look at Rotten Tomatoes or tomatoes, depending on where you are in the world or how you choose to pronounce it, 60 still gives you a bad popcorn. Like it's a green sign. So I kind of read it in that. Yeah. So that's the way I worked with it. It was awkward, but fun because it was a chance to diversify and see what the world really thinks of certain movies.
Yeah. So obviously, yeah, I'm going to allude slightly to what you said. We're not the first people ever to come up with this great idea of movies audiences all critics love and audiences hate, or vice versa. There have been many articles and videos all over YouTube doing this sort of thing before, and there are obviously quite a big plethora of films that people disagree on. Shock horror. That's the joy of movies. Some previous articles, and this isn't even having to go back that far. I'm talking go back to 2019. Some of these articles have aged. Like one that audiences hated when it came out was A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Now people have gone to see it. Yeah. Back in 2019, sorry, I think that thing had a 42% audience rating. I can't get my head around that. I really enjoyed it, but
yeah,
I was like, okay, well, that's going to be really high. And then I think it was Get Shorty, which audiences apparently really didn't like when it first came out. And I was like, this can't be right. So I actually went, because I was taking this article at face value. Then I actually went and checked on Rotten Tomatoes what the scores were. Get Shorty's got a great audience rating. I was like, shit. So that can't go on. And I was like, while I'm at it, let me check A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. 70% plus score again. I'm like, well, I can't put that on either. And then all of a sudden I realized that this fucking rabbit hole I went down, I was like, yeah, so this is going to require some quite deep levels of research, because what the videos on YouTube and what all the articles on the internet say, most of it says aged and isn't relevant anymore.
Bro, there was one that threw me off so badly. I don't know if you came across it. I think it's BuzzFeed, and I'm not burying anyone. Stuff changed, right? But this article felt personal as hell, because it was like, I opened it and like the first film they showed is Frozen. And I was like, if I have a chance to trash Frozen, I'm going to trash it. Yeah, look, like both sides are promoting it. Like, what do you want? So it's really weird how this came about, and it could be, there are many ways to read this. Many ways that you can read it if you're doing it on an independent scale. You could have asked 10 people. It's a bit like Family Fortunes. We asked 100 people, what did they think of this film? They all said it sucked. We asked a different 100 people to anyone else. So these films that you see and will hear. Again, we are on audio visual form because we are back on YouTube, baby. Second episode.
Hit that subscribe button, and please do share this video and hit the like.
That's the one. And it's an awkward one on how to measure it. It's a very awkward one on how to measure it. And I swear to you, even like my number 10, my number 10, just by pure luck, I came across this film this week, and it looked like it had a good review. I'm like, hey, let me, I like the actors. Let's give it a shot. Didn't laugh once, and I was like, you know what? It works. Like coincidence allowed me to throw it in. So it was an awkward bit of research. So hey.
Very awkward, because like with everything on the internets, it all changes.
Yeah. So weird on that level. But hey, we've somehow set ourselves up with a similar challenge for next week. But hey, this is what we do, people. This is how we go. But okay, Nico, I think we've rambled on for a good 7 minutes. Would you like to tell everyone what the movie Mount Rushmore is all about, please, sir?
It's basically a top 10 show.
Okay, go with it. Yeah.
Sorry, there's more to it than that. For those of you tuning in for the first time, thank you so much for joining us. If you are new to the Movie Mount Rushmore podcast and you are listening to us on podcast form, please do remember that you can hit the share button, but also hit the follow button to get notifications whenever a new podcast episode drops on whatever podcast platform you're on, because we're on a lot of different platforms. If you are listening to us on YouTube, please do consider hitting that subscribe button, give the video a like, share it as well with anyone who you think may be interested in the video or indeed the podcast. But how does the Mount Rushmore actually work? AJ and I each get assigned a topic. We go our separate ways. We come right back here into recording and deliver to you, the Silver Screen Dudes, our individual top 10s. This week, I will go first, delivering my bottom 3. AJ will then deliver his bottom 3. I will deliver my next 2. AJ will deliver his next 2. And then we will trade one apiece. If at any time while we are rounding off our individual top 10 lists, one person has a movie in a higher position, that person will say...
punt.
To go on and talk about that movie when we get to the higher position. Once we have both rounded off our individual top 10 lists, we will combine and create the Movie Mount Rushmore. These are the 4 quintessential, diverse, must-see movies of this genre, which this week is...
movies that critics love and audiences hate. Okay. Over to you.
I think it would be interesting to say as we're going along, like how much who we agree with more.
Do you know what? Some of them I do. At first, on my initial notes, right, I was like, agree, disagree. Then there was someone kind of neutral. Like I'm very middle ground with some films. So, but yeah, I will do indeed. Okay, I'll let you sip your cup of Joe, and over to you.
My cup of Joe has been sipped. Over to me. Let's go into the realm of anime with a movie that I think got unnecessarily panned, but kind of middle ground, also slightly a bit overpraised by the critics. I'm going to go Sausage Party with a tomato meter score of 82% certified fresh and an audience score of rotten popcorn 50%. So what is Sausage Party? Sausage Party is an ensemble movie with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, mostly, Seth Rogen and James Franco's kind of new wave Brat Pack type crew. They're all in there. the Jonah Hills, even Edward Norton's in there, for Christ's sake. And at face value, it's an R-rated, over-the-top movie about different supermarket items, like consumable items specifically, other than the douche, who I think was an amazing character, just FYI. But pull the curtain back a bit, and it's about atheism, it's about monotheism, it's about the control of the church, it's about capitalism in a modern society. Like, if you pull away a little bit, there's so many layers and themes going on in this movie. And listen, I'm the guy who chooses to turn my brain off in movies and be like, I don't want to guess the ending. My missus is the other way. I think you're a bit the other way too. It's like, I know that's coming. It's like, I could guess, but I'm like, la, 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 la. Don't want to know. I like being taken on a journey and given the surprise. It's just how I like to consume movies. So far be it for me, the guy who doesn't even bother guessing the end of movies, to call audiences stupid. But I do have a feeling with that score that some of these themes might have been missed by some people. And it might just be looked at as a kind of gross out, tongue-in-cheek, almost wannabe Pixar personification of the inanimate object type movie. What's weird is that it's now the highest rating, it's the highest grossing R-rated comedy of all time. Like, people flocked to see this. Didn't like it though. Love is a strong word. I enjoyed it. I had to kick with it.
I don't know how this happened, because I don't know where the hell I was, because I've not really had Sky Movies for a while. Maybe it was a period where we had it. But anyway, long story short, I haven't seen the entire film, and I saw part of it, and I was like, this is weird. Like, you know me already. Rule is that if I'm from halfway, I have to go to the beginning before I watch the end. I force myself to cut out, no matter how much I'm loving it. And I'm like, this is odd. And obviously, because I didn't see the beginning, I didn't know where the story began, but I could kind of guess where it started, and I was like, okay.
Odd.
Yeah, it's odd. It's weird. But as you said, it's inanimate objects, and then it's not even toys coming to life, it's your food coming to life. So you're like, okay.
Hang on. If Pixar did it, people wouldn't have an issue with it.
Listen, bro. We've seen all sorts of things. By the way, I've ticked off a few things. Well, ticked one off and ticking off another one off the list. Seen Hercules. I'm more than halfway on Fox and the Hound. So we're doing stuff at the moment.
Both great, right?
Yeah, I'm actually really enjoying it. Second one more than, not that I hated Hercules, but Fox and the Hound's really got a story that.
Oh yeah, Fox and the Hounds, mate. Fox and the Hounds hits you hard.
Tugging at me at the moment, should I say?
But how good is Hades?
Do you know what I love is the lines that come out that really play to Greek mythology and something. I can't remember what it was, and it's like, was it the Trojans, and boy did they back the wrong horse, and all these kind of little bits and stuff like that. Really.
Honestly, if we're gonna go with the references to Greek mythology, one of my favorite lines is right at the beginning of the movie when Hermes is saying, "Hey, Zeusy baby, I haven't seen this much love since Narcissus saw himself in the river." Yeah. Well done.
Yeah, all of those stuff had me cracking up. I honestly, they were fun. But yeah, going back to Sausage Party, I mean, it all depends how you want to do it, and you expect the gross out when you hear those involved. Sadly, I don't think we can mention Mr. Franco at the moment. I believe he's on cancel culture, but hey,
what
if you do read into it, like Seth's even mentioned that he doesn't think they'll be doing more films. Apparently, he's been very abusive to somebody, and one person's come out. I'm not too sure of the lady's name, can't remember it at the moment. And then a few other people have talked about James Franco's character on set, and it's not good. I know,
Franco.
I know. This is it. It's one of those things that somehow. This is the news that we're in. So sometimes you don't want to touch on it, but you have to. So it's there. But yeah, Sausage Party was a weird one for me. I haven't seen it all, so I can't comment fully. And I believe I'm on the fence due to that. So hey,
fair.
I can't say who's right or who's wrong. You're number 9, sir.
My number 9 one. This one I do love, and I can't get my head around why people don't like this one. It's an animation again from DreamWorks. Ants. Look at that! Look at the difference in score there. 92% versus 52% for the audience. Like, yeah. The mind boggles on that one. Because all of the Ant movies, A Bug's Life versus Ants? This one's better.
Yeah, the one time DreamWorks actually did get the one up on Pixar.
Yeah.
I'm actually a bit PO'd with myself because, again, going through all the different lists, this one did come up and it should have been in my top 10 actually. But when you start double cross-reference and everything, it went under the radar for me. I am definitely on the critic side on this one. 100%. Very good film. Very, very well put together. It's been a while since I've seen it, but very well put together. I enjoyed Stallone giving me a bit of comedy in it, and his appearance in it. But all of it, I just felt it worked on an army and built into something.
The voice cast is also stellar. You got Stallone, Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Christopher Walken. Like it's quite the cast behind it.
Yeah.
And the themes, yes, sure. Especially now in the 21st century, the themes are a bit tried and tested, copy and pasted and recycled. But, you're talking a bit of, it's kind of a fish out of water story, isn't it? Or in this case, an ant out of his anthill. This kid wants to essentially impress one of the female ants, and he gets drafted into the army. He sees the atrocities of war, has some PTSD, realizes the war's not the way, decides to rally the ants against the suppressing army, and then the army realizes that they're in the wrong. These themes have been seen before, but they're good. Fucking love the story of love. The theme of love is a tale as old as fucking time. That shit gets recycled all the time. Just because it's recycled doesn't mean it shouldn't be used again.
No.
The mind boggles on this one. I can't find anything wrong with this film.
I don't. I mean, as I said, it's been a while, but I didn't have any beef with it when I did see it, and that I do remember. So to see that, and don't get me wrong, there are some films I've gone back to and be like, "Oh, that's age wrong," but this one, I don't feel like it has any beats from memory that I could be like, that definitely on the critic side with that one. I think it was a very good movie,
bro, 100%. And I'd hazard a guess now. Actually, let's just jump on Rotten Tomatoes quickly. I'd be very curious to see what A Bug's Life has as far as audience.
That would be interesting. Both films. I'm just going to
actually considering Kevin Spacey voices in that film. So here's mad. The critic score is exactly the same, 92%. Audience score for A Bug's Life is 73%.
There you go.
I can't get my head around that.
There you go. I just think that score, even if you do prefer one over the other, I just think 52 is very harsh. Very harsh. Even if you do prefer A Bug's Life, I don't believe Ants deserves 52%. Never.
No, I'd give Ants about the same thing as the audiences gave A Bug's Life, about 72%.
Yeah. It is that 7 out of 10 mark, isn't it? Let's be honest. Yeah.
It's a solid movie. It doesn't do anything wrong. The only thing I can imagine, and this is very much a personal thing, is that the animation style might throw a few people off. There are, for instance, people out there who didn't like Into the Spider-Verse because of the animation. There's not many, but they exist.
I get it. But enough for it to be the deviation of...
That's mad.
It's weird. It's weird.
Beyond weird. Right, my number 8. We've talked about this movie a lot. But it fits the list. So I'm going to bring in The Blair Witch Project, which has a critic certified fresh rating of 86% and an audience of 86% and an audience score rotten of just 56%. I get it. I don't agree with it, but I get it. Because you have got, Family Guy joked about this. There was that famous skit when Brian takes the blind guy to the cinema, and they don't say that it's the Blair Witch Project, but the way they deliver the joke, you're like, oh, it's the Blair Witch Project. Because the way Brian's having to narrate what's going on in the movie to a blind guy, right? That's the whole tongue-in-cheek joke. And he's like, so it's a group of kids. They're walking in the woods. They're walking. Nothing's happening. They're angry. Something about a map. They're angry. They're walking. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening. And it's over. So you can be simple about the Blair Witch Project like that. And again, breaking it down to its lowest common denominator, that description of the Blair Witch Project is kind of on point. But I think there's a lot more to it than that. The movie, and whether this is intentional or not, I saw the Blair Witch Project after the marketing campaign behind it had been revealed, that it wasn't found footage. Because, side note, for those of you who don't know, the Blair Witch Project was kind of the granddaddy of the found footage, right? This is where the whole found footage idea kind of blew up. I'm not entirely sure if this is the first ever one. I think it is. But if it's not, it's definitely the one that put it on the map, right? And then everyone wanted to do it. Because do you know what? It's an effective way of doing horror if you do it properly. If you can pick up on a story, like kind of Paranormal Activity did. There was that story of the couple who had their house haunted, and they kind of pulled that little one element of that story and made it a fan footage, and it was like based on a true story. Whenever you see that at the beginning of a horror movie, it scares you, right? Because oh shit, this is real. Blair Witch Project, the whole marketing campaign behind it was to convince people that these 3 people did actually die in the forest, the Black Hills Forest in Maryland, and they did a great number on the world, because the world, it was essentially thought they were going to see a snuff movie. Yeah. So kind of showed how fucked up humankind is. It's like, hey, the cinema's releasing a snuff movie, and it's like, oh yeah, death to humans. It's like, what? So that's fucked up. Just putting that out to everyone out there. But people went in droves to the cinema to see this and were scared. Then I think what happened is when the marketing campaign revealed that it was actually all just a fucking setup, then people were like, well, it's not that good then. It's like, well, disagree. Because
it's not enough to convince you.
And it's tense. It's really tense in atmosphere. You can put yourself in that scenario of being lost and then of this forest kind of closing in on you. Like it's fucking unsettling.
You see, it's a weird one, because if it done enough to convince you initially, then you shouldn't, if you were like, yeah, okay, I can see the lighting rig, I can see this and this bullshit or whatever, if there were hints of it to make you believe that it's a real film, then it done its job. It's only because it's fake that you're going to be like, oh, it's shit. But then you're going to say it's shit because it's too basic, but then it has to be too basic because that was the essence of the film.
Exactly.
It's found footage. It's college student, high school students with a camcorder.
Yeah.
Don't expect Jurassic Park from it. Like, work with it. Work within its elements. But I get that it's not a genre for everyone. So then, in that nature, I can slightly lean, but I will go with the fact that I think because people know it's not real, that's where they start to be like dislike, and that is an unfair justice, because you have to be realistic and honest with yourself that its concept has to make it just bones. There's no meat on this. It has to be just it has to be amateur. So that's the nature of the beast. So just let me go back to that. That was a score of 86. I might have been closer to the 80 to 75% range if I had to be like brutally honest, but I still believe it's
sure. But this is not a rotten movie.
No, it's not. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is you still need to give it its respect by all means. That's just the way it has to be.
I feel like I'm saying that more and more and more as we develop this podcast. Audience is easy.
Yeah, slow down. But this one I will agree with, because now we jump onto my number 10, and this is a film that do you know the weird way I came about this? I'm going to say it before I go into it. Cool. I was watching the Dudes with Attitudes documentary on WWE Network, and I saw how Kevin Nash came up with his character Vinny Vegas. And he said, come again?
The Dudes with Attitude?
Yeah, we are 2.0 to that, if you would. And here we go.
I fucking told you they follow us.
I wish this was a name they used in 96, maybe. But he said his character Vinny Vegas back in WCW, I was going to say, yeah. Anyway, came from watching this film, Steve Martin in My Blue Heaven. And I thought, you know what? Here's a Steve Martin film I've never seen. And it's also got Rick Moranis. Let's check it out. Shit. Rotten Tomatoes said 71%, and it got an audience score of 59%. I've never been more disappointed in a film. I actually fell asleep.
Really? A Rick Moranis film too?
Bro, do you know what really let me down with it? And Tam agreed with me. We watched it, and it's a bit like Bruce Willis in The whole 9 yards. It's mafiosa, hitman, the criminal in the white picket fence area. And that's essentially what it is. The whole story leads into Steve Martin being he's in witness protection because he's gonna talk about the mob, and you can tell by his style. I'm just gonna throw the picture up one more time. He plays that Italian kind of gangster. He's got that kind of mafia style to him, and very 80s and that. And Rick Moranis is the very straight-laced FBI agent who's relocated him, and it's a bit like Analyze This, that kind of, they're bad but then they start to do good.
Analyze This, Midnight Run, that type of thing.
Yeah, and there's a part where you think you may have inspired these films, and that's where the humor came and they were able to go further. I just didn't laugh. I'm
kind of getting a Mickey Blue Eyes vibe from this film.
Bro, you could take any of these kind of gangster comedy films. That's essentially, it's all going to be of a very similar blueprint. But I just didn't laugh. I just did not laugh. And that's what hurt me. I was really hoping, I was like, this should be fun. If there's anything I like to go back to, is a nice 80s, 90s comedy. You take Steve Martin, you take Rick Moranis. I'm like, there's that. Joan Cusack's in it. There's enough people for you to be like,
oh shit,
this should work. And I just didn't have humor. And it's like, at one point you could kind of see where the plot was going, and it just had nothing. So when I saw 59% after, when I went back, and I'll be like, but they gave this a 71%, it should be decent. I was like, I get it. And I wouldn't even say it's
critics don't always get it right.
Yeah, this is it. And this is the time I definitely leaned with the audience. I was like, yeah, it just didn't have it. It just missed that je ne sais quoi, it was missing. They played their role, but it just wasn't for me. Who knows? You might see it and you might think, hey, this was something, but I was like, huh? I even apologized the next. When you do the shit movie and you look at your partner, I'm sorry for that one. And she was like, it wasn't bad, it just wasn't funny. That's where I stand. So that 59, I would have been about 55, 50. Honestly, I don't even think it's a 6 out of 10. It's very middle ground, if not even lower. Watchable, just didn't make me laugh.
Can we just take a moment to acknowledge how fucking great Rick Moranis was?
Do you know Rick Moranis? There are some people you're like, oh man, where are they and what have you. When it comes to Rick Moranis, and I'm like, what's he up to? What has he done? And then I heard the sacrifice he made. It's that the wife passed, and he decided that it's, forget the fame and fortune, it's about being a father and being there for your kids. And I was just like, you know what? It just made me love the guy even more.
So much.
Made me love him even more.
So much.
And it's like, you know what? You entertained us all as kids, but now it's time to entertain your kids. And
he just wasn't around enough. We didn't have him for long enough. Like, we had a few, to be fair, like, I know people hate on it, but I've still got a very warm spot for that Flintstones movie that he was in.
I like the Flintstones movie. Like, it's not
Viva Rock Vegas. I mean,
no. Flintstones. Yeah. John Goodman, and
who was a great Fred Flintstone.
Yeah, it's there, and it's one of those weird ones that, what do you want from a Flintstones movie? What do you really want from a Flintstones movie? And I think they done well with what they had. They done well. They cast everyone really well. Actually, I think
he was really such a great Barney Rubble, wasn't he?
He was. I wouldn't even think of anyone else who could play that part. Even up to now, I don't know.
At that time, possibly Robin Williams. That would be as far as I could guess.
But height-wise, it would have thrown it off.
Yeah, Robin was too big then, I get it.
Yeah, so in that sense, like, Rick Moranis was perfect.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone with Pauly Shore. That just would have been a complete weird.
Although I read that Pauly Shore, by the way, is one of the nicest fucking guys in Hollywood.
Listen, I don't doubt that. But I'm just saying, character-wise, it would have worked. But Rick Moranis just fell into Barney Rubble status. It is
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, obviously, and Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. Like, Rick had such a charm to him, and we just even Spaceballs, man. Like, we didn't have him for long enough.
You know what? Even what is it? Little Shop of Horrors. Like, as weird as that film is, you can't not love Rick. There's not much stuff that Rick Moranis is. I to this day, and this could be very much sentiment talking, I cannot think of a Rick Moranis film that I'm like, nah, it's not for me. Like,
other than My Blue Heaven, yeah.
Yeah, but again, this one is just weird. Bang, got me right there. As I said, it's watchable. It just wasn't. It's like, again, with Flintstones, I'll be like, what did you expect? This one was just. Maybe anticipation killed it for me, because I'm like, this should be good. Like, it's a hidden gem, and I was like, yeah, watchable. Again, watchable, just not what I was expecting. I was expecting a good laugh, and I just didn't get it.
What's your number 9?
Right, in at number 9, it's a bit of a weird one for me. Into the Woods. Yeah, 71% tomato, critic score, 49% audience score. I think 49%
audience score seems harsh.
Yeah, it seems harsh, but then 71 also seems a bit too high. So I am a bit middle ground in this. Yeah, so I would be in the 60% mark. 60, 65. I know there's not a lot in that, but it also means a lot when you're working with this, right? Into the Woods was really weird for me because I was a big fan of Once Upon a Time, the TV series. So I'm now seeing, I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's
I haven't. Much the same thing. Heard it's good.
I loved it. I haven't finished it. It's been removed from Netflix, but I have my box set, so I'm all good. If you know, you know. But it's the musical version to that. You're talking of all your fairy tale characters brought into one universe, and it's being sung away. So it was interesting, and this was shout out to, as I recall him, the silver screen dude in training, good old Zany. He was the one who's like, "Oh, Grantley, if you like this, it reminds me of Into the Woods," and I was like, "Okay, let's have a look." And I watched it, and I had fun with it. You know, I had fun with it. It was a nice little musical. It's something that you appreciate in this time, that you don't always get this kind of fantasy, and there's always a remake of your. It's a live action version of your Disney classics. This was something different, so I appreciated that. I just think 49% is too harsh. I personally think 49% is way too harsh.
I didn't have a lot of gripe with this movie, other than the sort of added on ending. Like, you know, the point when they're at the castle?
Yeah.
That's where the movie should have ended.
I agree. There was that kind of extra, half hour?
Yeah, they didn't need it.
Just like, I think I felt that as well, where you're like, okay, this is cool. It's still going on. And then, you know, sometimes you get an extra 5 minutes, you're like, okay, ended one. You're like, you're dragging.
Yeah.
You're dragging here.
That ending just was not needed.
Yeah, and that's where essentially it damaged it from me completely agreeing with the critics, if you would. You might have hit that 70 mark if you had just stuck there. But hey, what can you do? Nice little movie.
As far as throwing it out there, not a James Corden guy. Really, I've got no time for the guy. But I've never seen someone campaign so fucking hard to be a singer since David Brent Life on the Road. Like, this guy, man, yeah, he's a perfectly proficient singer. But he's doing this. He's fucking doing sing-offs with Queen's Adam Lambert on his show. It's like, James, give it up, mate.
As well as carpool karaoke.
Oh, I know. It's like, mate, give it up.
Wasn't he the one doing the hip-hop battles at first as well on the show? And I'm like, do you know what it is? And I have no beef. I've never watched the show, right? But was it Gavin and Stacey or some stuff? And it's like, you're off this very small sitcom, and I like to see people grow. I get that. Sure. Then you're this TV host, which I'm down with. Yeah, as you said, it's like proficient. You aren't the world's greatest. It's not what's my girl's name? Dreamgirls. We keep bringing her up.
Jenna Hudson.
Yeah, you're not Jennifer Hudson. Like, it's not like, oh my god, have you heard Corden sing? And I'm not even. You know, it's not even like Susan Boyle. Oh my god, this voice! I never expected it. You're just there. You, my friend, are a 50% on the tomato scale. Like,
literally, but in his head, and this, I don't know. I do not reside in James Corden's head. I don't know this for a fact, but the impression I get from him from Carpool Karaoke, by this I mean specifically that whenever he's got singers on, I don't know if you've noticed, he always tries to sing louder than them. Just it's like, look at me. It's like, mate, you've got fucking Anthony Kiedis from the Red Hot Chili Peppers singing next to you. Get in your lane. Get the fuck in your lane.
It's sad. It really is sad. Like, I just don't get the fascination behind it. And I get it. You're talking a slightly rotund gentleman singing away and being joyful. It's fun to see. But in the same side, I'm like, really? I think that, to me, that's what I've always seen. And I'm not body shaming him in any way. But I'm like, is this what they're doing? They're just, you know, why is he chronically singing? It's not that anyone's looking for a James Corden album.
No. Do you know what? James Corden thinks he's the new Jack Black. That's what it is.
It could well be. But I'm like, dude, not for me. But no. You know, a couple of songs here. But again, you're right. It's like every time, and I'm like, yeah. And I'm not gonna say it threw me off. But then it's like, you see this, then you see he's in Cats, and then you see it's like, dude,
oh fuck that film.
Stop.
Fuck that fucking film.
Yeah.
But no, I had fun with Into the Woods. I'm a sucker for the sort of grim fairy tales, and they kind of just put it all together like a nice milli. I liked it.
This is it, and I would agree with you. And I don't know how. Try and Catch. Oh, actually, Disney Plus, I think, may have it because it's an ABC production.
Oh, what? Cats? Yay!
No, dude. Once Upon a Time.
Oh,
like that. If you're into like that fantasy world and crossing it into reality, this one, it's awesome. All kinds of awesome. Nice. Right, in at number 8 is a film that we actually saw together. I believe we even threw a review for it. I'm talking The Shallows.
I'm talking Punt.
Fair enough. All good. There we go. Right, okay, over to you.
Okay, my number 7. I am bringing in one. I think I brought this to your attention, and I think you really like this film since we've spoken about it. I think. Okay. But my number 7 is starring George Clooney. Hail Caesar!
And it's my turn to tell you, Punt.
Right.
Okay. Right. Here we go. So over to you again.
My number 6. This one I can't fucking get my head around. Like, of all the movies on this list, and I know we've got someone on a fucking comic book group who would agree with the audience score here, and Big Tone, loved you, but here, go fuck yourself. Captain Marvel.
This is your number?
6.
6. Mate, I'm going to have to go with another Punt. Right. Right, over to you. Oh, no, over to me. Over to you. Right. Okay. In at number 7, this is a film you got to see just before me. I didn't feel too much for the first, but I actually did lean to it a lot more in the second film. I am talking, if you're in the States, it's called Neighbors. Over here, we called it Bad Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising.
Fun.
Yeah. Now, this has a critic score of 64% and an audience score of 44%. It's an awkward one because I saw Neighbors 1 and it didn't do. I couldn't sign up.
Really?
Again, this could be my Rogan situation, right? But I just was like, it didn't make me laugh. However, seeing number 2, I laughed. I was in the cinema and I was actually laughing. I had a good time.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. And with that, I was like, I put it this way, I am 65 to 70, so I'm actually more with the audience on this one. Could it be because it's a past number 1? I don't know, in my opinion. I honestly think 44% is way too harsh. To me, it was more than a middle ground film. Everyone has their choice on that. I felt it's a past number 1, and for that, it might be a bit more, but I believe the casting worked. I believe seeing the old frat boys actually trying to be slightly more matured, trying to use their skill and being outwitted by the girls on the sorority, it worked for me. Like it gave me something to really enjoy it. I think Chloe Grace Moretz, as always, was top. I think she always. That's someone for me. I think we need more of. Like I haven't seen enough. I think there was a time she took a break, and I just we need more films from this young lady.
Well, she's dating Brooklyn, isn't she?
Yes. Good old young Bex. Young Bex. So. I had good fun. It's not the world's greatest film. It's not on my list of must-sees. And, do you want a comedy? Let's watch Bad Neighbors 2 again. No, it's not there. But it was a nice middle ground film, and that's,
the two movies kind of blur into one for me. There are moments in it that will always stick out for me. Like, I can't remember if it's the first or second, but like when she hasn't used her breast pump for a while and he's like, oh my God, your boobs are like hulking out. I don't know why. That always made me laugh.
I think that's number one.
That always fucking made me laugh. Or when they're doing the Halloween party and Dave Franco does the impression of Robert De Niro and he does it so well. You're talking to me? Talking to me. It's so good. So good. To be honest, the only part in 2 that really stuck out is where Chloe Grace Moretz has gone into their house and she's jacked their phone and she twats herself because it's on a cord. Fucking old people phone. That got
all that kind of badness going on. Yeah, for sure. So bear with me 1 second.
Oh my God, on the live show too. Look at this guy.
Oh, sorry. No, because episode 1 of a live show didn't have someone else having a phone interruption. Of course.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is this the power of editing? The best. naturally, the power of editing would also have my phone chronically ringing. I don't blame you. Go for it, because who wouldn't?
I love you, mate. But you know what? That's me getting you back for calling me a twat on podcast yesterday. Oh, the angle with which that twat greeted me. It was like a fucking shot to the heart. I was like, fucking hell, AJ. No need to go all Bon Jovi on me here.
I'm not going to lie. There was a part of me after it came out and I was like, you need to apologize. I didn't even get a chance to because I ran to see the missus. But yes, apologies for any ministry listeners. It was... This is where AEW. I wasn't actually banning AEW. I was actually trying to open up a discussion, and you were just shutting me down. Like, no, you're just taking the negativity as always. I'm like, no, you twat. no, anger, repression. Slow it down. Call your counselor.
It's like, you know, when your best friend calls you a fucking bad word, you can usually handle it. It's all tone, isn't it? When it greets you with venom, I was like, oh my God, my best friend really fucking went for me. I'm so sad now. Why?
Maybe I am a twat. No, you're not. It was honestly, apologies. I was just trying to get to I was actually trying to open a discussion, and then it got to a point where, bless him, then the tech was like, guys, we're talking over each other. I was like, let's move on. Let's move on. We'll talk.
I do love Ben. I really do love Ben.
You have to. Honestly. Nah, big stuff. But yeah. No, Anyway, we will bring that discussion to a later date. But yes, let my edit remain, and apologies for the phone buzz. I will get back to that.
Oh, good. We move on.
Yeah. So no, middle ground film, and that's why it's at 7. I just think the critics were just the audience were just a bit too harsh.
I would agree.
Yeah. Okay. So now for my number 6. Mm-hmm. That's correct. From the world of Sacha Baron Cohen, always to be appreciated, Bruno.
Small punt.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, over to you, sir.
So my number... Oh, fuck. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Sorry, I should have just not punted there. Yeah, Bruno, my number 5. So Bruno, which has a fucking critic score of 67% and an audience score of 41%. I cannot get on board the audience with this one. No. Absolutely no. I'd even argue that the critic score is a bit low.
I was going to say just a bit, just a touch for me, right? Because I would be 70. I'm not going to say it's into the 85%.
No, 70 to 75, I think, is a fair realm for this movie.
I get it that there are gross outs. And do you know what I think? And I could be totally wrong on this, yeah? If you go back to the release of Bruno, you know, like how you said Good Day in the Neighborhood changed? I believe this is also one of those that has been a victim of time because, and I'm not bashing anyone, the world has become a bit more sensitive. So when you're talking, when you enter, and I'm not saying this in any way when I put the brackets up on this, but when you enter the LGBTQ plus community world and you're not actually from that world, or that community, should I say, and you're choosing to represent and you're playing the ultrally camp, it then becomes offensive. So before, and I say this in the world that I respect everyone and their opinion. So if someone from the LGBTQ plus says to me this is offensive, I will respect that. But I'm also very aware that in a time of this release, I think there would have been a lot of support because people took the jokes for what they were. Maybe closeted, they were offended. You know, there were times I've laughed at black jokes and I look back now and I'm like, that should not have been said. Like, you can use those kind of things. So potentially that in that world, based on the way the world views stuff now, it's been found to be more offensive. I know there's a liberating side to it because it exposes the ignorance of the non-supporting LGBTQ plus community.
Exactly what he
said. But it's a thin line to sail.
Listen, I actually think what you've said is telling, but I think it's almost counterintuitive what you've said, because I do agree that we've become more sensitive, and I do agree that there are things now where everything you just said, basically, if you're not from that community, do you have the right to speak up for that community? That I think is inherently wrong, because I think it doesn't matter if you are or are not part of an LGBTQ community or part of a black community. You know, it doesn't matter. If you are a human being and you're seeing some sort of oppression on people based on something as minutiae as skin color or fucking orientation,
I know.
That shouldn't be something that constrains someone in life. You know, that's not something that you have a choice with. That's not something that you have a say in. That's not something which you should be ashamed of in any way. That's something that, just like any other facet of humanity, should be wholly embraced and recognized and celebrated, right? So here's what gets me about where we've moved to as a society. If a straight person cheers the LGBTQ community or cheers the black community, gets a pass. If someone from that same walk fights in favor of the LGBTQ community or the black community or the Hispanic community or the Asian community, whatever, any type of community that's suffering some sort of societal oppression, but that fighting isn't done in the way that the community wants it to be done, then they're excommunicado. That I wholeheartedly disagree with.
This is the problem, and this is why I say it became too sensitive. And you know, if there was a public outcry, and this is where it's different, right? It's that I say if there was a public outcry at the time, and they said, Sasha, I get what you're trying to do, but that is offensive as fuck, then I would accept it. But I feel that as time has gone on, you start to see people go, oh, that's wrong. Oh, this is wrong. And, you know, you look back at episodes of Friends and people are like, this series is wrong. And you're like, what? You know,
some parts, like the Friends has got such strong notes of homophobia in it. It's unreal.
Do you know what? I haven't been back, but I know people are like, the lack of representation of other colors, the fact that there are not, and I'm like, come on, like, there are groups of Friends.
New York's a very, 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 very white city. Like, I just want to put that out there. I know there's a lot of black people in New York, and it is full of minorities in New York, which is great. But it's a very white city. Like, I've been there, I've walked the streets, I've walked that city top to bottom. It's very white.
Bro, let's be honest. Yeah, let's be honest. And it doesn't mean you're racist by it. Yeah, I am sure you have friends, or you even have moments yourself where you are in a group of friends that you meet on a regular occasion, and it doesn't happen to be a black person there. There doesn't happen to be a homosexual person there. It doesn't mean you're anti anything. It doesn't mean you're racist. It doesn't mean you're homophobic. It just happens to be the circle of friends you're in. And conversely, I'm sure there are a group of LGBTQ plus members out there who will be at a party with not one hetero person there, with not one cis gender person there.
I fucking hate that term. Sorry, I hate that term.
Listen,
I know you're not doing it, and I know it's the fucking label that we're being given. But whenever someone says you don't get it, you're a cis white male, I'm like, don't call me that. That it actually fucking offends me to my core to be labeled like that.
To be fair, it's not a term I would use. Like, I use it because that's what it's known as. But I'm like, well, okay, like, really? Is that it? How did that come up? Anyway, I don't even want to get into that discussion. But there are circles that's there. So if you happen to be, and let's be honest, your neighbors, that's all it was. And it's like 2 extra friends, because Phoebe to be fair, it was Phoebe. Phoebe was the only person who didn't live with him, right? So your neighbor, your brother, I'm taking this from Rachel's, from Monica's point of view, and your best friend and one other friend.
Ross didn't live with them technically,
but it's her brother. Like, it's one guy's best friend and the other one's brother. Like,
right?
Pick a flat. Like, it doesn't matter. Oh, you're wrongins. Okay. Now go and look at your circle of friends, and now have you gone to purposely look for a member of the LGBTQ plus community and a minority? And I say that in air quotes because I know that offends people. Use whatever term you want, but let's use the term that's commonly used. Have you done that just to fill the quota?
No, I happen to have it filled, but I've not gone out looking for it.
But what I'm saying is, for those people who have had a go at Friends, and I'm just ultra defending Friends and Bruno here in this same vein, have you done that? And the fact that you had to acknowledge that, are they really your friend, or did you just do it to tick the box? I leave that there.
And this is what, moving back into Bruno territory here, this is what I found inherently weird by people not embracing what Sacha Baron Cohen was doing with Bruno. And the part that people always fucking pick out is the opening, especially him and his, little gay Filipino boyfriend.
Playboy, yeah, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's stereotyping. It's like, that's the point, you dummy. The whole point of Bruno is to show the representation of what the uninformed, let's go with the fucking expression that I hate, the uninformed white cis male thinks of homosexuals. And I cannot emphasize the word uninformed enough, because the stereotype of the gay Filipino, I was going to say trolley dolly. That's so bad. Nearly. I said it anyway.
The fact that we have to defend every time, I swear to you, there was a point I always say, I fear who I am for the future, because I seek not to offend. I respect all diversities.
Yeah.
However, you say the wrong thing and you've ultrally offended the world. And what kills me is terms change every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Terms change every 5 minutes. I do not care enough to keep up with them in terms of nomenclature. You know, I don't care enough about giving people the correct label and accreditation. What I do fucking care about is if I see another human being oppressed for no fucking reason. I mean, reasons aside, just oppression in general. Yeah. I shouldn't have to quantify that. I don't want to see oppression on other human beings because it's fucked, right? Nowhere more so than in the land of the free, America. Just putting that one out there. Land of the free, my fucking ass. But yeah, oppression in any form is bad. And even if a movie like Bruno isn't seeking to oppress, it's seeking to educate. It's seeking to show, okay, white people, okay, straight people, you really think this is what gay people are like? Like we just fucking stick champagne bottles up each other's batties and get mad and randy in, one night stay hotel bedrooms and fucking put dildos on our mouths and watch Mr. Megorium's Wunderbar Emporium? It's like, you really think that's how it is? Okay, let's actually now personify that and put that on screen, and you can see how fucking ridiculous that looks.
Yeah.
And then when you've seen how ridiculous that looks, you might be educated and think, yeah, maybe they're not like that. So Bruno is seeking to educate. It's not seeking to offend, and it's not seeking to fucking educate the LGBTQ community. It's seeking to defend the LGBTQ community, and it's seeking to educate the uninformed, homophobic, straight people who have got this weird stereotyped vision of what homosexuals are and the way they behave. All Sacha Baron Cohen's done is take every single extreme stereotype, put it on screen for you to enjoy, and not laugh at, but laugh with, to be like, yeah, the fact that people think this happens is moronic. Now, don't get me wrong. You can go to Pride Parade in Brighton and they look positively overjoyed. Like, fucking great. I would be too. Like, hey, this makes me feel good. I'm in fucking, let's go with another stereotype. I'm in leather hot pants. It's like, mate, you rock those leather hot pants. Go for it. If it makes you happy, go for it. And if you don't want to be in there and you just want to be in a fucking business attire, but at the Pride Parade, also fine. Don't care. You know why? Because they're not hurting anyone. It's a freedom of expression and they're happy. Why would we not celebrate people who are happy?
Thank you. They're
not doing any harm. There's the fact that there's this sect of society. This is a mad thing, right? There's still some places in England where gay marriage isn't recognized. That makes me go, what the fuck?
That I didn't know.
I found this out from, this is a weird tangent, but I found this out from Made in Chelsea. Yes, I watched Made in Chelsea, sue me. But yeah, it's scripted reality, but there's one of the characters in there that hard, in love with his boyfriend. They've wanted to get married during lockdown. The recent episode is about love during lockdown. Whatever.
Is this Ollie by any chance?
Yeah.
I remember Ollie when he was in Big Brother. Really cool guy.
Really cool guy. Ollie's very cool. So it is Ollie and his boyfriend Harvey. There was a number of places they tried to get married and they couldn't do it. And this is in London, motherfucker. In London. Wow. And they wouldn't do it because they were like, we don't recognize a male, a same-sex marriage. You know what they did in the end, which I thought was quite beautiful? They rented out the Natural History Museum and got married in there.
Nice.
Yeah, it was really pretty.
Why not?
So we've still got such a long way to go. And if we put a fucking shackles on people like Sacha Baron Cohen and say, no, we don't want you to shame those who are shaming, then what's the fucking point? What is the point? Then it's just like the people who want to fight for the cause in their own way now don't have a voice anymore. Which means all it comes down to is us versus them. It comes down to the LGBTQ community versus the homophobes, and everyone in between doesn't have a voice. Which is
where you're actually creating more division, which is sad.
More division, which would be a fucking shame, because most sensible people and most people with a fucking pulse and blood flowing through their veins who don't have fucking any beef with other human beings for their orientation would lean towards helping the LGBTQ community. But there is, and this is a very small number of people in the LGBTQ community, like, no, you don't get it, therefore you can't fight our fight. It's like, we don't need to get it, and I know what you've been through, to know that what you're going through is brutally unfair and unjust, and we would like to fight on your side. Don't push us away.
Yeah.
So for me, giving Bruno a bad score is almost like rejecting a help that's being given. And if you don't think it's helping, then honestly, you've missed the point of the movie, and there are just no two ways about that.
This is it. This is the one. Couldn't have said it better. Could not have said it better. That was lengthy, but I think needed. Yeah, most definitely. Right, in at number 5, I am middle ground with this one. Here we go. King Kong.
Punt.
Okay. I had a feeling, actually, that is kind of your territory. Okay, over to you.
Okie dokie. My number 4. I'm very surprised people didn't like this one, but man,
hold on, sorry, my mistake. That should have been your number 5, shouldn't it? Or did
my number 5 was Bruno.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. Sorry, because I know it was my number 6. I was like, did I skip a beat there? Yeah, okay.
No, it was your number 5, King Kong.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
but for some reason I thought your number. Yeah, I thought you.
I fucked up because of the 5. False punt.
Yeah. There we are.
My number 4, relatively recent, The Witch, which from 2015, which has got a 90% critic rating and only a 59% audience rating. Now, the only thing I can attribute this to is that they speak Chaucerian English. It's very, very old school. And possibly mismarketed, because you think witch, bit like the Blair Witch Project, when you don't see the witch at the end. Spoiler, you don't see the witch at the end, but it almost feels like there's a bit of a lack of payoff. But not seeing the witch is kind of what makes it cool. But you do at the end of this very brief second see a covenant of witches, but it's blink and you'll miss it type thing. The whole point of this is a family who are living by themselves. The only actor of note, I think Mia Wasikowska is in this, if I'm not going mad. I may be wrong on that one, though. Don't quote me on that. Do you remember, you've seen The British Office, right?
Yes.
His obnoxious, sexed up friend with the mustache. I can never remember the actor's name, but he's got a really deep voice.
Yeah. It's been a while, but yeah, I know, yeah.
You know the one I mean. Yeah? So he's in this as the father. And essentially, it's about this young girl who, you have to remember, this is borderline medieval times. So, the women, witches, that's rife, rife. And this young girl who feels completely not only separated from society, but also from her family, they never show it, but you get the impression that she started dabbling in certain things, or she started hearing voices, or there's dark forces that are talking to her. And what this movie does that so well is that it's all off screen and you hear it, but you don't see it. It builds tension brilliantly into the build up of this girl realizing her true self and becoming who she is, and in the process destroying the family culture that she lives within, because she becomes completely pushed out from the family to the degree where her brother and sister are witch, they're calling her a witch. And from a modern perspective, what the film does that's clever is that you're trying to balance out, okay, how much of this is actually real and bitch is a witch, and how much of this is crazy middle-aged belief of a woman is a witch because she's doing something different. You got to remember, back then, if a woman read a book, it was like, a witch.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Yeah.
So there was some extremes fucking going on. So what it does is it sets the period so well with the use of Chaucerian English. Art thou not here, my love? You know, that sort of stuff. It's very, very old. If you are English, it's going to be inherently easy to understand because Chaucerian English is not that difficult to understand when you're hearing it. Reading it is a bitch. Hearing it, not so difficult. But yeah, the film is a slow burn despite its short runtime, but it's a purposeful slow burn. It builds to a great crescendo. It's tense, it's atmospheric, it's unsettling without ever actually throwing the kitchen sink at you. I think it's a fucking crowning achievement of modern horror. That's my personal take on it.
Do you know what? I'm open to that. I haven't seen it. You know me, and horror has never been the best of friends. So it's
this one doesn't set out to scare. It's
no,
not.
But fair enough. This is it. So, did we board more onto the thriller section then, as opposed to horror?
No. Well, kind of Shining territory.
Okay. Right. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, nice. An interesting film that you've somewhat sold to me. I'm not going to say it's on the quick agenda, but it's on the agenda of things to give a shot to.
Dude, you'll probably see it once, never see it again, but you'll have a good memory of it.
Fair enough. That's all that counts. So
there's nothing wrong with this film. Nothing.
That's all we asked for.
And I would actually agree with that critic score. It's really well made.
And just for memory, that was
90%. The Witch.
Oh, flip me! What the hell have I done here?
What have you done?
I somehow zoomed in on my computer. Big time. I'm just about to see the top corner.
Command and minus on your keyboard.
Thank you. Oh, flip me.
What you done, AJ?
This is not going up. This is not going well in the slightest.
You still look fine on screen if that's of any consolation.
Yeah, but like trying to...
Are you on Mac or PC?
Mac.
Yeah, so to zoom out, command and minus.
Somehow, like you, I'm not even joking, are in... Bear with me a second. Sugar, this is live. This is a nightmare. It's not... Bro, I'm going to refresh because this...
Refresh away.
Yeah.
So while AJ is refreshing, it's just me on screen. This is technical difficulties from the Silver Screen Dudes. I don't know what the guy's done, but yeah. Hope you're enjoying the Movie Mount Rushmore podcast. Here's me vamping and doing the best I can to keep the show alive. If you are watching on YouTube, please, as I said, do hit that subscribe button. Give the video a like. Side note, if you are as a regular subscriber of the channel, and I think AJ's back. Is he back? Are we back? Are we back in the room?
Yeah, we are back in the room. We're on different sides, but that's fine.
That's fine too.
Yeah. Do you know what happened? Right. I've zoomed out. So everything is now minuscule when I went back to the StreamYard like selection of studios. However, on the other side, all I had was a blow up of your face. There was nothing else for me to see. So I had to like completely shift left to pick pictures. And it was like, we're not gonna be able to do a podcast like this. That's just not gonna happen. Nothing gets in your face, but in terms of image selection, wasn't gonna work.
Love you too, mate. I was just saying while I was vamping, if you are a regular follower of the channel and you are subscribed, please do tune in most Tuesdays and Thursday evenings for our new gaming live streams. This coming Tuesday, I will be playing Wreckfest.
Nice. This is nice. Just another shout to Sacha Baron Cohen while we're there. Okay, so that was
my 4
with a 90% score. Big. Interesting. Okay, right. In for my number 4, the punt from earlier, Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
Now, this has got a tomato score, critic score of 79%, audience score of 45%. Now,
I'd go as far as to say the critic score is too low.
We have been back and forth on this. I don't think there was a Marvel film debated more in our group, if I'm honest. Let's call it as it was.
Can I take a stab here? I think, because remember, this followed Black Panther. I think there was a serious case of don't steal my thunder.
No, this followed Infinity War, was I not mistaken?
Yeah, but I mean, as a single movie.
Yeah. Okay, in that sense, yeah.
I think there was a serious case of don't steal my thunder going on with this movie.
It's difficult. It's difficult because there is and there isn't that. Now, what happens with this phase of the MCU was we started to get representation. Now, for your missus's point of view, which is something I can't relate to, she saw the empowerment for women. Going back to what you said, I saw the empowerment for Black people. And, you know, and the thing is, it's weird because it depends how you are. Because, for instance, my aunt, I showed her, she's been dying to see Black Panther. She came around and I put it on for her and she finally got to watch it. Now, from a representation point of view, Black Panther is pretty much perfect.
Yes.
From a comic book movie point of view, it was very middle ground. And my brother said it. We both said it. We were in the cinema. We were throwing up the Wakandas, but it was wrong that we felt that we leaned more to Killmonger than we did to T'Challa. Like, there's no in between on that.
Careful, that's become taboo now too, that Chadwick's left us.
It's what it is. And then what's going to happen? Because, anyway, I'm not even getting into it. But yeah, it is what it is. I hold no bones. I'm not saying he was crap. I'm just saying the way the story was written, we led more towards one than another.
I'll say this, I thought he was flat.
Listen, he had.
That's not something I've said after he's died. I said that the moment I walked out the cinema. It's in our group chat.
Go back to episodes. Anytime we bring up Black Panther, we've been very honest about it and very vocal about it. You know, that is what it is. You know, I think even when we paid tribute to him, we're like, we're not going to be hypocrites. We know what we said. I'm not going to be like, oh, it's there. No.
It's what you said at the top of this segment. Sums Chadwick and the movie up perfectly. What he did for representation with the performance, he's immortal for that. He just is.
Yeah.
The movie, meh.
Yeah. Do you know what I think? Representation wise, as I said, I can't comment for Captain Marvel. Yeah.
Sure, and I can't comment for Black Panther.
No, exactly. This is it. Where I think so, there is that argument, and maybe the critics were there because more and more around this time we were leaning into Black Lives Matter more and more. It just became its thing, and you don't want to be the racist. So here we are. You can't be over promoting the blonde-haired white girl too much either. It just won't work. I get it, but I think what Captain Marvel's biggest problem is, from my perspective, that I could be corrected by anyone. We were sold as Captain Marvel is the almighty, the absolute powerhouse, the one to stop Thanos. And now that you take everything that happened,
I know. There's the Scarlet Witch argument, which is valid. But let's remember, he put the whole armada off of Scarlet Witch onto her, and she still fucked them up.
There is that, and there is the fact that Tony was the one who clicked a finger. So that when you take all of these elements, like
just one thing on that, if we're gonna get geeky, remember when he twatted Tony around? Tony moved. He headbutted Captain Marvel, and she didn't flinch.
I get it, bro. But what I'm getting,
him. You remember that look? He was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, no. All of this is cool, and this is even though, and everyone said it, she was a glorified Uber driver, because all she really did in the beginning was just bring Tony back to Earth. Like, these are the problems. And I think with the film Captain Marvel, it took a while.
Like it's a bad thing, though.
Listen, I'm just saying.
No, I know people said that, but it's such a weird thing. It's like when you say to someone, I really like Lamborghini, and they say, oh, but it's made by Volkswagen. It's like, why is that an argument? Volkswagen are good cars.
But even if your primary car wasn't that, but then the other car that you're making is for the elite, then go with it. Who cares?
What the fuck? And it's like, so here's the thing, right? It's like, would people have preferred to see Tony die in space? No. Why is this a bad thing? She fucking brought Tony back to Earth. Like, it shouldn't be she's a glorified Uber driver. It should be thank fuck for Captain Marvel.
Well, this is it. But going back to it, I think the backstory, while people are on the heels of how do we stop this fucker, no one wanted to go back to the 80s. I didn't have a problem with it. But because it didn't display, because in the build up to it, it's, ooh, wait for Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's going to do bits. And then you're in the 80s and then you're getting this backstory. Release had a lot to do with it. Had she been released prior to Endgame or even Infinity War?
And Black Panther. I cannot argue this enough. I really believe the Thunder were that there was such a kind of no. It's not your time. Look at our group, bro. Like whenever you brought up Captain Marvel, the first thing that people went on the defensive of was but Black Panther. It's like,
but do you know what it is? Dare I say the narrative from you coming out, because I believe you saw it first, was it was a very empowering film. Now, again, not my position. And even if I go back, I don't know if I still agree with the sentiment, but I was like, well, Wonder Woman done a lot more. Now, it's not for me to say it, but I've also had some women who were like, I did prefer Wonder Woman to it. So it's all to do on personal opinion. And again, I'm not the demographic. I can't comment. Like, white, blonde-haired female coming from a black-haired black man is completely, it doesn't get more separate. Like, it just can't happen. So it's not for me to comment. But I think because that empowerment is where we started to do the comparison. Whereas if you took two heroes, like Captain Marvel shits on Black Panther any day. Like, Vibranium's cool, she's got it all. Like, she's got it all. But then Black Panther also had the luck of having to be featured in Civil War, which gave us a chance of seeing what his power was about. Everything needed to be squeezed in to Captain Marvel. So I think the anticipation in a world where we've just seen the snap, we've just seen Peter go, and we're like, why am I seeing the Terminator? Why am I seeing this? Why am I seeing Blockbuster? Like, it was really misplaced. And I think that is what really damaged it.
I'll listen to that argument all day long. I'll listen to that, you know. Maybe it's a personal thing, but you have to remember the two closest people I have in my life, family aside, are obviously Anya and you. You represent, in terms of comic books, like, you represent Black Panther. She represents Captain Marvel. So I've got some sort of, you know, close-knit affinity with the both of you, obviously. And this isn't a blame on you or anything, but it's like when I left the cinema with her, having watched Captain Marvel, I really felt like happy that she'd seen that. And now in the scope of I have a daughter on the way, I cannot wait to show her that, if that makes sense.
Do you know what it is? Like, let's be honest, like, for many people, Black Panther was a lot more, and this is me talking within the Black community. Like, for me, it was, again, I'm probably like you, like, from a comic book ground, you're like, okay. But when you see the elation that it puts to someone else, I know DJs who called their parties Wakanda following Black Panther. I'm sure I showed you that family who went to Cineworld dressed like the Dora Milaje. You can't take that away. Like, it's going to be all kinds of awesome.
Yeah. I just wish there'd been more fanfare like that when Blade came out.
Oh, mate. I know. But hey, this is the world we live in. But I honestly believe taking that thing apart, I like taking all those elements apart, 45%. Like, where I stand on the, I lean with the critics. I don't know if I'm at 80, but 45% is way too low for that film.
Disgrace. Absolute disgrace. And when you see a movie which is actually objectively, take emotions and representation out of this, just break it down how the movie is made. Is it an accomplished movie? Does it capture the period well? Is the pacing good? Is the acting good? There are few, but are the action set pieces good? Is the interpersonal relationships between said characters that permeate the movie good? Is the script well written? Is the cinematography on point? Are the special effects good? Like, break down all the little granular, is the music good? Break down all the granular details that make up a movie. Are the costumes good? We can keep going. There was nothing wrong with Captain Marvel, right? There might have been an elevated expectation, but as a movie, which for me, it doesn't matter if you're a critic or not. If you're going to jump on a reviewing platform, you need to have enough fucking brain on you to be able to break down a movie granularly if you're going to shit on it. Like, you need to tell me what you don't like about it on a granular level. Because to have an overall average score, 42%, means that there were some scores that were lower than that. And I've read some of these reviews and I'm like, you didn't like it because you didn't like the character. Are you fucking kidding me with this? That's not how you review a movie.
If you can't relate to a character, it makes it hard to watch a film. So I can kind of lean with that. But do you know what I will say? Again, I'm going to talk placement. I bet you all of those people who said that, if this film was released after Captain America 1, watch how that would have been a complete different review. Would have been, because there's nothing wrong with it. I understand that anticipation, because you know the sad thing is that while building to Avengers 1, we understood them, but they could all be independent movies.
Yeah.
By the time you're at the phase that we're at, right, and everyone was so deep in, and we're just waiting for that culmination, anything that was between Infinity War and Endgame was going to be a casualty of war. It doesn't matter who you are. Any film. That's just the real. That's just the real.
It's true. It's very true. So that was your 4. So over to my 3, which was the punt from earlier, The Shallows.
Okay, nice.
78% from the critics, 59% from the audiences. Now, do you know why I put this so high? Because it's so fucking difficult to make a good shark movie. Because it doesn't matter how good you are never going to be Jaws. Ever. It's not possible to recreate Jaws or to even achieve that level. It's not doable. There was too many things that were perfect about that movie. The director, the fucking score, the actors in it. And there were so many things that went wrong with that movie that actually ended up making the movie better. You know? So you're never going to have that kind of perfect storm of mistakes and perfection coming together and making lightning in a bottle. It's never going to happen again. Which is why if ever we did a top 10 of movies that should never, ever, ever be remade, Jaws is number 1 on that list every fucking time. Right? The Shallows, in the scope of a modern shark movie, which there have been many of, 47 meters down I actually thought was quite good as well, to be fair. But The Shallows was good. Like, in the modern day, you're not going to do the Jaws thing and not show the shark. You're going to show the shark, right?
This is true.
You're always going to show the shark because that's just what modern audiences want. And by product, it's also what modern audiences are going to be like, well, that's not very good. It's not like Jaws. It's like, you're never going to achieve Jaws again. So if you take Jaws off the table, this is definitely one of the better shark movies we've had.
And if I'm not mistaken, was it? I mean, obviously there are a few other cast members along the way, but for the better part, it's a solo movie. Like, it's Blake Lively, a bird, and a shark.
And Blake Lively does her part.
She really does. And this is why I had a lot of fun with that film. I believe we gave it a very positive review when we did do that. And I wouldn't take it back. I think 59%, again, you have to take away Jaws. But just seeing it, again, you take it away, see it as a film of its own, but take it away from, even if you did want to compare it to Jaws, some of the crap that has been filled in between, this is bloody good.
Yeah,
I'm echoing what you're saying, but you know, it has to be said. The film is not bad. Whether you want to add Jaws, whether you want to remove Jaws, both ways, it's a good film.
Yes.
With the elements that you have to work with, a girl stranded on a rock, a lady, should I say? I don't want to sound offensive, right? Stranded on a rock from a surfing accident, and she's got a shark that is just circling around her, so there's no way to get back to shore. And she has this one, is it a seagull? It was a seagull? Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, the seagull. And this is all you have got, and a surfboard. They really, and it has its tense moments to it. I'm not overly, but like, let's be honest, we didn't even know if she was going to survive at the end or not. I'm not going to let that down.
The ending, and this is purely, and this is something that a lot of people wouldn't know because, you know, most people haven't scuba dived, but going down that quickly, you'd blow your ears. You blow your ears. There is no way you could descend that quickly without fucking harming yourself.
Yeah, I have.
But people don't know that shit. What people are thinking is she's diving down deep and the shark's being killed. You know?
Weird.
But there was a lot of things that were good in this. You know, the way that the dehydration was setting in, which is, this goes back to Rime of the Ancient Mariner, you know, a painted ship on a painted isle with, you know, being surrounded by water and not being able to drink. That's an old sea trope, you know. There's something morbidly horrible about that you are essentially on a desert of water, but you can't drink. It's fucked up. And by the way, never, ever, if you're thirsty, drink seawater. It'll make it worse, right? It really will. But the relationship she had with the seagull, because it was an interpersonal relationship and it was a good one. The way that she was injuring herself by stepping on things like fire coral. Now, I've just brushed fire coral by accident when diving. Oh! Ow! Fuck! And it lasts for fucking days. It doesn't go away. She full on stepped on this shit. Now, I can tell you, I screamed when she stepped on the fire coral. Fuck the shark. That fire coral, I was like, oh, God. Oh, my God, that would hurt.
Yeah.
The pain, I cannot even describe it. It would be like putting your foot on top of a lit flame and just leaving it there. Just the pain would be indescribable.
Jesus.
Other than the description I've just given, which is quite on point. But no, yeah. Where do people not like this movie from? It's a fucking shark movie. What the hell were you expecting?
Bro, I get it. I think they took it and made it novel in the best way that you can, because it wasn't a group of people, a group of deaths, and in and out of the water. It was just an isolated moment and the trouble and just trying to get back to survival. Like, there's not.
It was literally nature versus nurture in a nutshell. Yeah. You've got the full force of perfect evolution in the form of a great white shark, which has not evolved since the period of the dinosaurs. That's a fact. Versus, the astuteness, the education of mankind, and its uncanny ability to fight for survival. Like, these are two very powerful forces going against each other. And it was depicted brilliantly.
Yeah. No, I can only but agree. I can only but agree. No, well placed. Well placed.
What's your number 3?
Right, my number 3, and do you know what it is? It's because of the backlash. So technically, I do prefer the Shallows, but my number 3 is the backlash. I am talking Ghostbusters. Now, this is the all-female version released in 2016 with a critic score of 74% and an audience score of 49%. Guys, I have to be very honest here. What was the beef? I'm not saying it was the best Ghostbusters movie. You will never beat the original created Ghostbusters movie. But the hate, the fact that one of them had to delete her Twitter because there was just nothing but abuse. And it became racial abuse on top of it all.
Yeah.
It became, and this is where in the world that everyone wants to be so positive and everything that we talked about in Bruno gets spun on its head. Because it wasn't the Ghostbusters movie that you wanted, you want to become genderist, you want to become racist, like everything. Those women, I'm not saying they deserve an award for the film, because it's not that. I mean, as I said, middle ground film, it's a different universe. I respect that, right? But for the abuse that they took to still hold their heads up, and it was unfound hate. I've never heard of such hate to a film. Now, don't get me wrong, there are personal hates. Like, you were like, I hate Daddy's Home, and that's fine. You and I will both say Elf is the biggest heap of shit walking. I was really hoping that had a negative score so I could agree with someone, but both sides were positive. I checked it out. But this film, everyone was like, absolute crap. It should have never been made. Yada, yada, yada. No, it's not worthy of all that hate. Would I go with 74%? I'd probably be in the 60 to 65, if I'm honest. Maybe I could even do 70, But I think the 49% below average, I think, is way too harsh. It was a different spin, and it was a decent film. I actually had moments where I laughed. I liked the way that they approached the ghost from a different manner. Like, they done their elements to make it a different universe, but everyone was just so tied up into the Ghostbusters world and just slammed it.
I'll repeat now what I said in the review that came out on the YouTube channel. You couldn't win with this movie. There was no winning. If you liked it, you got labeled, and this happened to me. You get labeled things like, feminist. I don't know quite how that's a fucking insult, but hey, that world we live in. You get labeled feminist. You get labeled mangina. You get labeled. The worst, actually, do you know the insult that stung me the most was insincere? Even though that's not by any stretch of the imagination an insult. Man, when I was reviewing for the channel, to quote Tony Montana, I had 2 things, my word and my balls. And I didn't give a fuck what the IP was. I didn't give a fuck what other people thought. I went in hard on some movies that were... Yeah. Rogue One, when it first came out. I like it now, but man, I slammed it. Like, I didn't give a fuck. I said what was my honest opinion. And my honest opinion for Ghostbusters was about a 7 out of 10. The female ensemble was good. The comedy was good for most part. There were a few misses. The ending was weak. But in terms of a progression of the existing franchise, I didn't want to see a rehashed copy and paste. Here's the ghost trap and here's the proton packs. It's like, well, no, if you're going to make a new movie, you have to
make a new movie.
Take it to the next level. And yeah, they took it arguably a bit too far at the end. But some of the new ghost weapons, I thought, what makes me sad is I honestly believe if this had been the original cast fucking around with these weapons, people would have been like, oh, amazing.
They're back. Ghostbusters are back, man.
Yeah. I
Harold, but they're back.
It's all hearsay and hypothetical because I can't base it on anything factual. But I believe it would have been greeted far better. And on the flip side, if you say that there was something that you didn't like about the movie, which I also openly said, such as the ending, you were called a sexist. And it's like, you just couldn't win. You like it, you're wrong. You dislike it, you're wrong. There was so much fervor and passion on both sides that it was like, you know what? Take all that shit out of it and just look at it as a movie. Other than the ending, there's nothing inherently wrong with it.
Yeah. And that's how I felt about it. I remember the build up. Like, you gotta remember, guys, we are the era of Ghostbusters. We saw all the cartoons. We saw all the films. We supported it. We had the toys. We've had the proton packs. We've had it all. Yeah. And it's come back out. And I remember rushing down to Waterloo Station to take pictures with the guy dressed as Ghostbusters and all the small elements they had. And I'm envious that you saw the Batmobile, but we won't get into that different time. And but like you go into it, and I saw this film, and I'm like, it's different from the film, and that's what you want. It's a fresh take on it. What do you want? And the hate around it, I was very anxious. I remember that. And your review had come out before I'd seen it, and I was like, ugh. He's saying one thing, but the reviews are coming out differently. To this day, I say it's a good film. Not brilliant, but it's a good film.
You agreed with my review, essentially.
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. So shame on you if you want to put hate on it. It's way more than 49%.
Yeah.
I have to put it out there. Okay, sir, you're number 2.
Yeah, my number 2, mate, was the punt from earlier. That is good old King Kong.
I knew this would hit you more than it hit me. I knew it. I understand it. I get it.
Yeah, critic score of 84% and an audience score of rotten with only 50%. What I remember when this movie first came out back in 2005, I remember being on the train with one of my friends at the time called Ed, and he gave quite, I think, a fair summation of what people thought was wrong with this film. And his words were, it was too much. Now, to this day, that's never sat right with me, because you're talking about King Kong. Like, the very essence of King Kong is it's too much. You're talking about an ape on an island that time forgot that's got monsters and dinosaurs on it, depending on which period of history you watch the movie through. You watch the more modern ones, it leans more towards the monster stuff. You watch the old ones, it was basically monkey or gorilla and dinosaurs. It's what it was. You look at the old 1933 shit, which is what Peter Jackson's movie in 2005 essentially is. It's a love letter to the 1933 movie. It feels like a period piece from that time, just with modern effects. Indeed. And I think Jackson's eye, because Jackson likes his big shots, he likes to make everything look massive. Look at what he does in Lord of the Rings. Everything is like, wow, it's huge. That lends itself, I think, really, really well to King Kong. And I can't see the beef in this film. I just thought what Weta Workshop did, let's just talk about the effects a minute. What Weta Workshop did as far as the effects were concerned, I think they were giving a massive middle finger to Spielberg, Jurassic Park, and Industrial Light and Magic. Because it was like, oh, you got a Brachiosaurus on its hind legs. Here's a stampede of Brontosaurus. I was like, what? Fuck. Oh, you had a T-Rex beating up cars. Here's a T-Rex swinging on vines. I was like, I mean, it's mental. It's fucking mental. But it's a King Kong movie. Like, the fuck you expecting here? It is a movie about a gorilla on an island with dinosaurs. What did you want?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. One of those things, and I think it depends if you ever do your research going into a film. In terms of too much, it's length. There's a lot to take in that sense, and it's a lengthy movie. And with that, that's where you're like, whew. It's not that you're not necessarily enjoying it, but it's because you're focusing, and it depends if this is your first. As you said, it's a love letter to the 30s movie, but if you're only familiar with King Kong by name and then you're taking it in and you're like, hold on, there's not just a gorilla, there's dinosaurs and there's this island. What happened to the Empire State Building? I just heard about the monkey on the Empire State Building. Like, you're like, what the fuck? So in that sense, if you're not au fait with the story of King Kong, it will blow you apart. And then you've got this, it's there, and then there's the coloring. And as you said, it's so grand that your eye is taking in so much. You're like, my God, my God, my God. And this is what I'm saying. For me, I wouldn't go with the 50% score, You have to be in anything to me personally, 60 to 75. Like I can accept any noise from that.
It's going to be higher for me.
Yeah, no, I get it. You probably are on the 84, possibly even 90.
Yeah. Well, 84, 85 is where I'd be with this movie.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I get it. But anything 60 plus, I can listen to because of different ways of absorbing the media. That is what I will give it. You know, as I said, I'm in that 70 range. 50% is people who I believe just weren't ready for it. They just weren't ready for what was coming, and that's what's blowing them. They literally just wanted to see the Empire State Building. Anything on top of that is, oh my God, why are you adding this? This is wrong. And then you'll get the uneducated, like, that's not what the movie's about. Well, it is. And that's the problem. Honestly, I can't say I've spoken to people, but this is just a mental judgment that I have. That people, I think what they're looking for, even though people have panned this movie time and time again, was like the Luc Besson Godzilla. Like we just somehow the monkey ended up in the middle of town, and now we have to tackle the problem. I think that's what they wanted. So the fact that it's
was that Luc Besson who did that abomination?
It is. I'm sure it's.
I'm
sure it's him.
No, I'm sure you're right, but just fuck.
Should I fact check that? Because I don't want to bury the guy.
Keep going. I'll fact check you on that one.
I actually, that's the problem. I just feel like you can't. People think they know it. It's like, again, going back to the Flintstones. It's like sometimes you have an expectation of an IP, but you don't know the full background to an IP to be like, well, what do you want? Because if you look at going back to that Flintstones movie, you tick all the you look at what it has: Barney Rubble, Fred, this, that, the other. You know, Mr. Slate. It's all there. Dinosaurs being used as machines because that's what it was. It's all there. And then you have to insert a villain to make it a movie, not just an episode. And I think it's the same here. You're looking at King Kong. It's like anyone who doesn't know it, I would say goes back to the Chewits advert in the UK. I don't know. It's just like, that's all we ever know of King Kong. And then some people, dare I say it, will lean Donkey Kong. And all they're just seeing is monkey, damsel in distress. That's all they want from the film.
Right.
Anything else is, it's there, but they're just not unaware of it.
Right on.
Yeah. And was I right?
Roland Emmerich, by the way.
Okay. Why did I think it was Bissell? That's weird. I don't know why. But yeah, weird stuff. So that was my that was your number. I've done it again. Your number 2. Cool. Mm-hmm. This time I figured out a way to zoom out. Thank God for that. Okay, that was your number 2. Over to me. And my number 2 was the punt from earlier. Hail Caesar. With a critic score of 85% and an audience score of 44%. Now, I saw this film when we were doing Josh Brolin, and I had a lot of fun with it. I also revisited this film when we done meta movies and stuff like that. I actually don't know where the... Come again? Oh, it's meta.
Fuck.
Isn't it just movies about movies? Sorry, it wasn't meta movies. That wasn't the exact term. I don't know where the beef is. Like, no, this apparently was the film before I think our joint number 1 will be mentioned. I believe we're right. I believe it's a joint number 1. But this was the film that had the biggest percentage difference, like on Rotten Tomatoes again. Like, people just were split. The critics loved it. The audience hated it. I'm not sure. Like, I always seem to be just a bit below the critics myself. 70, maybe I'm a 7 out of 10 guy. Who knows? But I'm like, I don't know if I'd be 85%. I can hit 80. I know it's 8. Yeah,
75, 80.
Yeah, 75, 80 is my world on that. And I'm like, 44% is extremely harsh.
Ridiculous.
Extremely harsh. I have I don't know the ground. I don't know what you were expecting, why you hated it, what you loved. What was it? Because I think, again, I always say it, when it comes to a review, and this is why I'm very difficult with reviewing stuff, you set a level of expectation. What was it you were expecting that made you say this is wrong? Because in terms of set pieces and acting, I don't think anyone was offbeat there. So now it's the story.
I can make a guess, but yeah, even that guess is kind of what makes the movie purposefully great. But the plot is, and I say this with the keyword purposefully, the plot is purposefully disjointed as fuck.
But that's the logic of it. Yeah.
That's the point of it, though. But I mean, if you're not along with that disjointed plot and you're not seeing what the Coen brothers are doing with this, it can then make the movie feel like a drag to get through.
Yeah.
Because the first time I watched Hail Caesar, I liked it, but I was like, I don't know if I got it. But, that was me being honest with myself. I was like, there's something here, and I don't know if I've got it. And then when I rewatched it, I was like, oh, this is good. This is fucking good.
This is the thing. I think you have to be honest and be like, I don't get it, but it's not bad. Like The Big Short. The Big Short is a fantastic movie. I'm never going to be like, I know exactly what they're talking about. Like, maybe on second and third viewing, but
no,
first time I was
no.
Fair enough. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you can be like, this movie's smart, but I'm not going to say it's shit because it's too clever for me. That's it. No, I just thought Hail Caesar was very unjustly judged, and the difference was huge.
Like, for me, and I'm going to say something monumentally unpopular here. For me, this is a much more accomplished movie than The Big Lebowski.
I would go with that.
We are on a fucking small island there, AJ. I know that.
Many people will quote Lebowski as like their favorite film of all time, and I'm like,
I don't get it. I don't get it.
And again, maybe it's me. Maybe I have to go back. But I was like, and it sounds stupid as fuck. I'm very aware of this, but like I remember seeing Kingpin as a comedy bowling film, and I was like, I get that. And then I saw Lebowski, I was like, I think I prefer Kingpin. Like, maybe it's the timing, and I was completely off, but I was just like, So yeah, there we go. But hey,
yeah. But just before we go on and reveal our number one, what was your worst?
I didn't know how to actually do that in this remit. Maybe you did, but I'm like, how do you quantify worst? Because in both sides, we either agree with critics or agree with audience. It's based on opinion. How did you quantify worst?
The movie that made me just angry that critics liked.
Fair enough.
Because for most part, I've agreed. For most part on this list, I've agreed with the critics. Score differentiation aside, I've leaned far more towards the critics on this list than with the audiences. That may change next week. Stay tuned. This one has aged because it came out in 2017, and I just looked it up on Rotten Tomatoes, and the scores are more or less balanced now. Like critics give it 92%, audiences give it 72%. But this film won an Oscar, which means it wasn't only loved by the critics, but it was also loved by the Academy. Audiences, for most part, when we put the question out on Twitter, did not like this movie. So there is maybe a good, big, large pool of people who don't necessarily even review movies on Rotten Tomatoes who really dislike this. The general feeling I get when I speak to people is, fuck that film. I think this film is the biggest piece of shit that has possibly ever won an Oscar. The Shape of Water.
Oh, okay. Yes, I got my years confused because I think Moonlight was a bit split. But yeah,
No. Listen, Moonlight, its biggest criticism that it gets from me is that it's Oscar bait. It was a movie that was made to win an Oscar. It lacked substance. It wasn't made for merit or for a cohesive story. It was made literally, let's win an Oscar. It just felt like, if you want to win an Oscar, here is a blueprint on how to do it.
I get you. Shape
Here
of
is
Water.
the 101 Oscar Winners for Dummies book. It's called Moonlight. It lacks soul for me, Moonlight. Despite some great performances from people like Naomi Harris and Mahershala Ali, great performances. But the story, I was like, oh, mate, for fuck's sake, could you be bashing me over the head more, saying that you're campaigning here? La La Land, I never felt campaigned. No, you knew the critics who, especially the Academy, who love movies about the Academy, obviously, because it's vainglorious and self-fulfilling. They were obviously going to love it. So there's a cynical argument to be made that La La Land was made because it was a safe make. Sure, I'll listen to that all day long. La La Land moved me. Moonlight left me feeling cold as fuck. Shape of Water, I nearly fucking walked out of.
I remember you saying this, and I'll be honest, it did come up on a list, and I didn't even want to look for the film because I remember how bad you described this film the last time you brought it up. That is honesty.
It is a tremendous piece of shit. It is a tremendous piece of shit. Like, Uwe Boll would be proud of this movie. I'm going to put it out there and say, I think Guillermo del Toro is one of the most fucking overhyped directors walking the planet. I'm a big Big fan of Pan's Labyrinth. Crimson Peak, whatever. Fucking, even though it's big mechs smashing each other, it's not a good movie. Pacific Rim, fun, but whatever. Like this universal praise that Del Toro seems to get, I don't get it. Overrated as fuck.
Yeah,
but,
I could listen to
that. This film could have been great, like, because it's essentially, I mean, it's a fucking retelling of Splash, essentially. It's what happens when mankind starts to experiment on nature. So, the overall narrative of leave nature alone, stop fucking with nature. I mean, that's an argument. That's a theme I'll be interested in all day long. And when this kind of merman, this aquatic thing that the design on it was perfectly unique, although it felt very much in the Del Toro world. Like, you could have put Fishman from Shape of Water directly into Pan's Labyrinth and it wouldn't have felt outside of its realm, honestly. Del Toro, I think, although his inventions are always very, very unique, they always feel like, yeah, that's clearly a fucking Del Toro invention. That's not a bad thing. He's got a stamp on his creative identity. That's actually quite a good thing, I'd argue. But yeah, Fish Boy, it's one thing having him saved from scientific experimentation. It's a whole other thing when she fucks the fish man. What are we doing?
Every time you say that, I just have to pause and just go like, okay.
Fish sex. What the fuck are we doing? So we've gone from don't fuck with nature to, oh, we're all the same. It's like, no. This isn't fucking Romeo and Juliet, Capulets and Montagues. This isn't interracial fucking wedding. This isn't homosexuals getting married in fucking the Natural History Museum. This is a woman fucking a fish. I'm not even being cynical. It is on screen. He's a fish man. She's fucking him. Yeah. And the movie tries so hard to make you sympathize with it. It's like, oh, but she's a societal recluse and, she's a mute, so she can't communicate with people and she's founding you. Yes, the theme behind the fact that she's able to communicate with someone who also shared that the similarity they shared was they were rejected by, their equivalent societies and they didn't have a means to communicate. And through each other, they found a means to connect once again. Thematically beautiful. Visually, it's a woman fucking a fish.
So that means we're endorsing sheep shagging. That's just...
You get me? Big up Wales and New Zealand. Love you all.
I was tempted to, and I was like, I'm not going to go there.
It's our podcast, and we're joking here, obviously.
It's all jokes.
She fucks a fish. She fucks a fish. There is no escaping it.
All kinds of wrong. Of course, but then some people are going to be like, but he was part human.
But he wasn't. No. There was no part human in him. He's a man-fish. And I'm not talking about fucking Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I am not talking about that. I'm not talking lower half. I went a bit African there instead of Caribbean. My bad. Yeah, man, Ariel from The Little Mermaid, there we go. We're back in the room. I'm not talking about fucking lower half is fish, upper half is human, and then when the woman goes on land, she becomes this hot redhead. No, this man is a fish man, and he stays a fish man. She may as well have finger blasted him in the gills. Two in the gills, one in the eyeball, as far as I'm concerned. The fucking fish equivalent of two in the pinky and one in the stinky. The fuck are you doing finger blasting a fish gill? Just
no. I hear you. We leave it there. I can only but agree. If I'm going to go by proxy once again, if we're just talking high critic rating, then I don't agree. It's always my go-to card when I'm out. I'm just going to go Elf 85%. Don't agree. Not for me.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah, if we're playing it on that level, yeah, high critic score that I don't agree with, that no, never gonna
give the shape. Okay, here's the fucked up thing: to give The Shape of Water 92% as a critic, you're smoking the good shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yo, man, she's totally fucking a fish. That's awesome. That's the only way I can break that down.
I just don't want to know what the internet history looks like if that's what you're promoting.
You get me?
Just saying. Okay, you're number one, sir.
it's going to be a joint number one, because there is literally, when you talk about movies that audiences hated, or at least were fucking divided on, and critics loved, I'm so hard in the fucking court with the critics here, but my number one is Star Wars The Last Jedi.
I agree. That's me, with a critic rating of 90% and an audience score, I don't even want to say it out loud, 42%. You should be ashamed of yourself, people. You should be ashamed of yourself.
I love talking about this film because it triggers people.
I will leave it to you. I'm just going to start on it as and I know you can always go deeper, as the casual Star Wars fan, like a guy who, as I said, I steamrolled it, like, to do it, and it wasn't just revisiting. This was all in one to get on the train and just in time for Force Awakens. Like, it's a continuation of a story. I don't even know where your beef lies, people. Like, honestly, I just see a continuation of the story. For you to be like, but this is wrong. It's like, if that's wrong, then so was episode 4. Like, I don't want to put it in any other word. There isn't anything inherently for me to be like, well, that didn't make sense. This didn't. Now, you could go a lot deeper because you're going to go into Star Wars lore. But for me, on very common ground, I'm like, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Okay, Luke came back, and I'm guessing everyone wanted him to just jerk off the lightsaber, and it was mega lightsaber and start swinging away at the world. And because you didn't see that, it was like, oh no, how dare you?
Do you want me to make you laugh?
Go.
Do you know what Revenge of the Sith scored?
Don't. Go on.
66% rated fresh by the audiences.
Fucking bunch of idiots. I honestly, if we went from 31,000 followers back down to 2, being just you and me, I wouldn't care, because I have no time. And you got called out once already for Captain Marvel. I'm calling you out now again for flipping
unlimited power.
That unlimited power bullshit. And even my cousin's friend, Andre, you're also in that. I don't know why people lean towards this movie. I remember tension building while I was watching this film. Every time I saw Palpatine, and I'm like, what is he doing? Because you could just feel the unlimited power building through it. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, from Jar Jar Binks, you start to settle, and you eliminate that. You take the story for what it is, and you see the very cool, calm and collected leader who's doing what have you. Like, I think the first time I'd done it, no one actually got to see it, but I was like, what's the one with my man? And the blood is boiling again. Like, it was the biggest disgrace I have ever seen in any franchise. And the fact that people 62%, and then you're hating on the other one because you didn't get to jerk off to Luke in the way you expected to. And I consistently go to that. No, it is because you didn't get the Almighty from the first 3 films doing his part. He was just there as the older Jedi. You're now upset. Should you not? Actually, for the first time ever, this has hit me, and I don't believe I'm the one going into lore, because here we are. Like, we had Obi-Wan, the almighty Obi-Wan, and remind me, Liam Neeson's character,
Qui-Gon Jinn,
who were young men, and we saw the building of the ever great Obi-Wan Kenobi. We then accept him as the Grand Master, who's now fallen back to allow Luke to shine. Why would you not then accept it when Luke is now the senior Jedi, people? Oh no, because he's Luke Skywalker. His dad was Anakin Skywalker. He also had a moment to fall back. So where's the beef? Jedis get old. Live with it.
In the interest of fairness, in the interest of absolute fairness, there are 2 major things in this movie that I can't forgive it for. One of them is that I can't remember the name of the planet, but that casino planet.
Okay.
All with John Boyega and the Asian actress. Her name evades me.
May.
Forgive me, guys. You know who I mean. She's called Rose.
May, isn't it? Rose, that's it. Yeah.
When the 2 of them go to that casino planet, that whole scene not only feels way too close to prequel territory for me, but it also didn't make sense, because the point of them going to that planet was to find the guy with the rose plume. That story just never played out. They get put in prison, and then by pure fucking coincidence, because scripting, they end up in the cell with the one guy who could actually help them out, who then betrays him. So that whole middle section, I was like, no, that doesn't make sense.
It's all very Hollywood, doesn't it? I'm not going to lie. That happens in so many films.
I can't defend it. I can't defend it.
No,
that
I know,
whole
but to me, it was
planet was terrible. Was brings the score down for me. Not good. There's an argument to be made, which I will listen to as far as storytelling goes, that Laura Dern's character, Admiral Holdall, why was she not letting the troops know what the plan was, which is what ultimately made them rise up against her, even though she was a good guy? So it's a little bit convoluted there. But there's also an argument to be made that since when the fuck does a general report to the troops?
Again, agreed.
It's that argument like with episode 1. It's a bad movie. They're talking about trade agreements. It's like pretty much why wars start, guys. And it's called Star Wars. Like, what, the war just happened? Fucking Palpatine woke up one day and went, you know what? This galaxy? Mine. You're not fucking seagull from Finding Nemo, my bro. We need some fucking build up here. You know what I'm saying?
The thing is, and what makes it worse is, let's be honest, we knew that when episode 1 came out, it was going to be a trilogy. So it gives you a bit of space to give a proper backstory. Yeah. It's not just, that the scroll in the sky, accept it, move on. Yeah. We knew it was going to be a trilogy, which allows you to put meat on the bones because the next part will be development. That is really but fair.
So those, as far as this is objective storytelling is concerned, right? So those are the two main beefs I have with the movie, right? The Luke argument, which seems to be the recurring fucking argument. As a fan, was there a part of me that wanted to see, first off, Han, Luke, and Leia all together on screen again? Yeah. Like, that will forever hurt me, especially now that we've lost Carrie Fisher. It hurts even more, you know? That will forever hurt me that the trio, the original trio, were never reunited together. That's really sad. But that's fan stuff. The movie is not there to serve fans. The movie is there to tell a story. The fans can either be on board or not be on board. Most of the time, they were not on board with this film. But the auteurs of this story have a duty of care to the characters and to the story's progression. Now, whether you agree or disagree, I personally agree. Although, as a fan, I find it sad, as I said. But from an auteur perspective, I think it was very poignant that Luke was a hermit. Just like Obi-Wan, as you so brilliantly said. And the whole, we never got to see... And here's where the argument gets convoluted for me. We never got to see Luke all-powerful. Okay, he's literally fucking created a new power. Force projection. That shows how powerful he's become. But then when you talk about force projection, it's like, well, where did that power come from? It's like, God, you can't have it both ways. You can't on one side be saying, we never saw Luke all powerful. And then when he's showing himself to have reached new levels of awesomeness, you're like, well, that's not a good power. It's like, the fuck?
Can I just interject very quickly?
Himself across the fucking galaxy and bitched Kylo Ren without even being present. Poetically, that's pretty fucking powerful.
There is that. And just another bit before you proceed, right? If you have a beef that the original trio weren't together, should that not lean more towards Force Awakens? Because that's where Han was killed?
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, for those who have that
100%. This isn't something that's wrong with The Last Jedi. That was the overarching story that they chose to tell in the 3 movies. This is why I said the movie has a duty of care to the story, not to the fans. The fans, and I say this as one of the biggest Star Wars fans, which you can vouch for, Star Wars fans are some of the most entitled, toxic motherfuckers I have ever met. They almost feel like they have fucking ownership over this IP because it's so beloved and it's such a big part of them. They feel like, no, you will give me the movie I want. And then the other argument that I hear again and again is they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan for the trilogy, and that showed. It's like, well, they did have a plan. The script was leaked online. It even had a great name. It was called Jewel of the Fates. You can go and read it now. some clever motherfucker on YouTube has even taken the script and created some graphic images and made the fucking story. There was a clear plan. The plan changed because you motherfuckers decided that you didn't like The Last Jedi, and you created such a storm online that Disney did this. Reset, and they had to fucking scramble at the last minute. And do I support Disney for doing that? Hell no. Hell no, you should never listen to fans. Because if you listen to fans, the MCU would also be fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'd be like, oh, that's not close enough to the comic book. We didn't get Demon in the Bottle, so Iron Man 3 is shit. Now, I personally am not the biggest fan of Iron Man 3, but it alludes to the story from Demon in the Bottle. I'm just pulling one out of from the top of the shelf here. So there was two major things that were wrong with The Last Jedi. Everything else, the arguments fall flat for me. Oh, we didn't get to see Luke powerful. You did! He created a new force power! Oh, but we've never seen that force power before. Flip that argument on its head. Until Return of the Jedi, you never saw lightning come out of man's fingers either. But you didn't have a problem with that. It's like the inconsistency of the fucking arguments.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but why did Luke have to be all sour? Well, they kind of touched on that. And they touched on it well. Rey's all about... Rey's on the planet with him, and she's all about, why don't you come back? And Luke's like, the Jedi are a fucking failure. And she's like, why did you say that? He's like, let's break it down. The Jedi were in power when Palpatine rose to power. Their lack of vision and their selfishness and their self-righteousness gave way to the darkest moment in our galaxy. The Jedi, for lack of care, are the reason Darth Vader came to be. Like, he breaks it down. He's like, I don't believe in the Force anymore because I've seen how fucked up and temptatious it can be, and how people almost get corrupted by this power, and how this power blurs people's clarity. He says it in the movie. And for me, the movie should be commended for that, because it's taken this hero, and for me, it's made him human almost. It's been like, it's made Luke that much bigger, because he's the one guy who's been like, I see this for the fallacy that it is. I see this Jedi religion for the cult fallacy that it is. We claim to be all powerful and all seeing, and we couldn't see the biggest evil right under our very nose. And he says that to Rey, and people are like, oh, but that's not Luke. It's like, he's an old man. He's grown. Believe me, I'm not going to be the same in 70 as I am now. I'm going to be an old geriatric motherfucker.
It's so true.
People grow, man.
And the more he takes time, again, being a hermit, he's there alone with his thoughts. This is well thought out. This isn't just a whim. This is well thought out.
Who was the one proper father figure he had? Ben Kenobi. Uncle Owen was never, he was the assigned guardian, but he was never a proper father figure. He always referred to him as Uncle Owen, right? Ben Kenobi was the first proper father figure he had. So it's like anything. You kind of become that which you know. The only proper father figure Luke's ever known is that of a hermit. Obviously, this was going to happen to him.
Yeah.
I mean, motherfucker. Now, if you want to go into what's wrong with episode 9, I'm here all day. I'm here all week. I'm here forever. And I blame episode 9 on you motherfuckers for piping up. And while we're on this you motherfuckers thing, you motherfuckers are the reason why Darth Maul not be coming back. Because we got him in Solo. But did you go and see Solo? No. Why did you not see Solo? Because I didn't like The Last Jedi. It's like, so here's some dumb fuckery for you. You didn't like one movie, and you're going to deprive yourself from seeing the next one to send some sort of message. Wow. Entitled much?
But do you know what's interesting, though? Have you seen the Solo scores?
No, I haven't, actually. What are we saying?
It's actually not too... I was actually quite impressed. Here we go. Live fact-checking people.
I've got it. 64% and 69%.
Neither were rotten, put it that way. I thought it was higher going back, but yeah. So
mental for a movie that has, and I'd also like to say that The Last Jedi, not only being, I think, fucking logical, where people say it's illogical, it's like, it's not. You're fucking inconsistent. I want Luke to be powerful, but I don't like his new powers. but it's also one of the most beautiful Star Wars movies we've ever had. I mean, it is stunning, this film.
It is.
Like, not just that explosion in space, which honestly is, you fucking freeze frame, that's the best screensaver you're ever going to have. But that fucking fight on Scarif at the end, that kind of salt with the red earth under it. I mean, whew, shit me, that was pretty.
That's nice. It's nice.
Like The Phantom Menace, there are so many redeemable things about this movie. And like every single Star Wars movie, with the possible exception of The Empire Strikes Back, it's flawed.
I could work with that. Yes, no. For someone who's had digs at The New Hope, like, yeah, if I could have a dig at The New Hope, then that proves all of them have got their own little flaws in places. So
mad. It's mad. The hate for this movie is mad.
Okay. Right. So we have a joint number one. Before we go into Rushmore territory, would you like to give us what Twitter put out there?
Yeah, let's bring up the Twitters. So I put out on Twitter, what's your favorite movie that critics love but fans hated? Might require a little research. Not too many answers to go through. I'll just go through it quickly. At Just a Movie Fan, put Gravity or Ad Astra with Brad Pitt. Haven't seen those. Gavin Mann said, think I'm beat on this one. The only one I can think of is The Last Jedi. I wouldn't say
sorry to cut you. You haven't seen Gravity?
So, Ad Astra.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. No, I haven't seen it either. Yeah.
I wouldn't say the fans hated it, but they were certainly divided on it. No shit. Paulie Pockets said Compliance and About a Boy. Max Livingston said The Last Jedi immediately comes to mind. We see we have a theme here. Francis Lalonde, Ballpark Frank, said, I myself loved Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but apparently the general public was less kind to it. I also like Romancing the Stone, not overly much, but a good way to kick back and relax. Yep, I agree with all that. Dunk Adams said, I read this wrong way round and came up with Taken. He's like, yeah, flip that around, my man. JT at We Love Movies at Movie Polls for You said, the critics adore Citizen Kane. I hated it. The Shape of Water is terrible, but the movie press adored it, and he put a vomiting emoji. Thank you, JT. It's a pile of shit. I'm not sure those two would count as the fans like them. And finally, The Tree of Life was given rave reviews, but the public weren't so hot on it. I loved it. I'm hit and miss with Terrence Malick. Dunk Adams put Shape of Water equals more like Shape of Shite. Agree. The fish fuck movie. John DeWorst put, I didn't like the movie, but one film that critics loved, Brad Pitt even won an Oscar, but people generally hated, was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I'm not sure people hated that one.
I can fact check it. By the way, About a Boy, I didn't know it had so much hate because I'm quite a big fan of that film as well.
No, neither did I. Okay, here we go. I get into a little war of words with someone here because I found this guy a bit patronizing. Dave at DM Short 85 said, I love Boyhood and thought it was brilliant. The critics loved it, but people didn't like it because it lacked explosions and superheroes. You see, you've lost me here because you're judging other people without actually thinking.
Ooh,
So I've had to come back to this.
Go back, yeah.
I've had to come back to this and I've said, that's a bit of a condescending answer. People, I believe, didn't like it because it was a gimmick movie. Leave judgment at the door, please. We're all friends here. He comes back. It wasn't gimmicky. It showed the progression of a boy to young adulthood. It's way better than any Batman movie that Hollywood can crap out. Okay. To which I've answered again. And I said, what we mean by gimmicky is the way in which the movie was shot, using the same actor and watching him grow in real time. A completely unnecessary gimmick when you consider the vapid, generic story. Also very curious why you are bent on this continuous comparison with comic book movies. No answer came from that. Shock horror.
Scorsese fan. Or UA Bowl fan, one of the two.
Wah, wah. Paul Sekulic at P. Sekulic put Hail Caesar, About Schmidt, and The Post. Too harsh to say fans hated them, but they were certainly much more popular with critics. Not sure how you've thought of 10 in this category. And I've said it was damn hard, but you'll see when the episode drops Monday, today.
Yeah. Right. By the way, just for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it's 85% critic, 70% audience. It's lower than critics, yeah, but
it's not hated. That's not hated.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think The Last Jedi has to be in there.
By all means. Joint number 1 as well. That kind of cemented its place. Okay. It'll be really interesting to revisit. Like, I would love for a time capsule to see what things have changed in like 10 years, whether it be us, whether it be someone much younger. I don't know how, but I would love to see if these scores change as time changes, you know. But yes, okay. Last Jedi, I'm down with. You see, there's a part of me that wants to put The Shallows, but I think it's just going to get destroyed. The Shallows and Ghostbusters are 2 films that I think will get destroyed unfairly.
Well, so will The Last Jedi. People hate that film.
All right, here are. I mean, we've got a few common grounds. Bruno, King Kong, Captain Marvel, Ghostbusters. No, Ghostbusters wasn't on your list, was it?
No.
But The Shallows was.
Yeah.
And Hail Caesar. Hail Caesar, I think, should be in there as well.
Hail Caesar, I think, should be on there. I agree.
You know, there's a part of me that wants to be a twat. And the reason it is our last commenter there went to war with you over a comic book movie. I feel like Captain Marvel just to...
I'm with you. Fuck him. And I'll make sure to at him in the poll. Go, here's your chance to vote. Last year.
For me, we are either at King Kong or The Shallows. Bruno's interesting, but I think part of me thinks King Kong because of the magnitude of the film.
I'm leaning with you on that, to be honest.
Yeah. Should
we just fire with that?
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that. Sometimes I laugh at these suggestions because I'm like, 2 seasons ago, we would never have questioned what the audience thought. We would always say, it's our podcast and they have to live with it. And we'd always be like, write in and tell us if you agree. Now we're like, which way will the audience vote? Like, I agree with this list. I'm not beefing this list in any way. But I always laugh because it's like, how will that fare? Like, I don't know if Captain Marvel would have been there if I didn't want to piss anyone off. That's the truth. Like, it's worthy because it shocked me. It actually did shock me. Out of all of those films, that one shocked me. I thought it had good reviews.
Right.
But, yeah. Okay.
All right. Let's do this. Ladies and gentlemen, the official movie Mount Rushmore of movies that critics loved but audiences hated in no particular order is
Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Our second entry is
Hail Caesar.
Our third entry is
Captain Marvel.
Our final entry into the movie Mount Rushmore of movies that audiences hated but critics loved is
Peter Jackson's 2005 King Kong.
Lovely.
Cool, that's a nice one, guys. So why did I make that little preamble about Twitter and we wouldn't care? Because, to quote Highlander, there can only be one. So we, the Silver Screen Dudes, have created the movie Mount Rushmore. We've taken 4. Now, trust me, on a topic like this was hard. For you guys, it's going to be harder, I believe, or maybe we made it slightly easier for you. But either way, it's down to you guys to vote for which film is loved by the critics but hated by the audience. I don't know if it means you agree with or who you disagree with. Maybe you can comment on that as well. But out of those 4 movies, Last Jedi, Hail Caesar, Captain Marvel, and King Kong, the films that have been so split, which one do you believe? I don't even know how to word this. I'm trying to word it correctly. But which one do you believe has been so undividedly split that you just don't know and don't understand it, and put your comment as to which way you lean? Because you may agree with the audience, you may agree with the critics. My God, I'm going to have to try and reword that again next week as well. But yeah, just the one that has got you the most split and you don't know why. There it is. Last week, in a much easier way for us to explain, our topic was
original movie villains.
And our contenders were
Our contenders were Stansfield from Leon, Kaiser Soze from The Usual Suspects, Hans Lander from Inglourious Bastards, and Alex Forrest from Fatal Attraction. We had 450 votes on this one. Quite a few messages.
Okay.
Your guy Chris Trengrove is in the house.
Good old Chris.
The Twitter police.
Yeah, indeed.
Right. So Chris has said, guys, how is Darth Vader not on this list? Like a 5-year-old living in New Zealand, New Zealand bush would say that Darth Vader is the most original movie villain of all time. To which I've come back and said, where is my answer actually? Chris, you must have missed the debate from Saturday. Would that 5-year-old in New Zealand bush know that Star Wars came out as a book the year before the movie was released? Anything that was book, comic, game, TV first was omitted. And he said, but that's highly misleading. That was a novelization of the movie, not a source from which the movie adapted. Star Wars is an original screenplay. I said, we don't dispute this. It's pedantic as fuck. But still historically true. In fairness, if it doesn't sit well, then imagine the question has excluding Vader tagged onto the end. He would just win and it would make the poll boring. Shut him down. I went full on retribution on his ass.
No reply, no?
No. Andy Hart of Fandango Groover put all great characters. I voted Kaiser Soze partly because I didn't think many other people would. We all know the real answer. Vader. Ian Stansfield said, obviously I have to go with my namesake in Leon.
I was going to say Stansfield just rang to me there, yeah.
Francis, this is nice actually. Francis Lalonde, just if you know, you know, just wrote Kobayashi. And then the photo of the legs walking. I was like, that's nice. That's a great, cool way to answer. Daddy is best, put Kaiser Soze is the only one who got away. That's true. Millie Burgos at Miracles 222 put an image of Kevin Spacey going. So Soze. Andy Hart at Fandango Groover put, just listen to the episode, no other books in the series. The story goes that Rederick Thorpe had the idea for the story. He then used the character from the detective as the hero so it would be picked up and a sequel movie be made. This is in reference to Die Hard being a book.
Okay. Fair enough.
That blew my mind when I saw that, you know.
Bro. Like, yeah, it had.
Mauro Ruby put, only a true villain is capable of doing this, and shared the photo of the boiled bunny. It's so dark. Paul Sekulic at P. Sekulic put, Stansfield, Soze, Lander are almost impossible to choose between. 3 of my favorite films, all fantastic performances and great characters, had to go for Kaiser Soze, though. One of the best movie endings of all time. Completely agree. Paulie Pockets went with Hans, but I'm going with the truck from Duel as an honorable mention. Nice shout. Duel, Steven Spielberg's first ever movie. Ivory Knight at Castle Shore put, me if Kaiser Soze loses this, and just shared the gif of when the cup drops, when Chaz Palminteri has his light bulb and he's like, I'll just let him go. You know, when he realizes at the end, like, fuck, I had him in front of me. It's such a good ending. God, I love that film. Hugo Drax put, more love for Stansfield. He's batshit. Couch Burns at Couch Burns 2 said, problem with Soze is the whole story within the story was made up. So, well, that's kind of the good thing. Snooze at Sosu Me 55 shared a photo of Soze. Caroline Evans just shared a photo of Hans Lander going, that's a bingo. So, AJ, the one clue I'll give you this week is that we've got no fourth. We have a joint third, then a second, then a first. And there is only 2% separating 1 and 2.
Alex and Hans are number 3.
Nope.
Shit. Norman Stansfield and
Alex and so Leon and Fatal Attraction are joint 3.
Hans Lander is number 2.
Nope.
You know, there was a part of me that just with my anti-Kevin Spacey hat on made him number 1. But okay, wow. I'm actually happy with that, though. I am actually really happy.
But I'll tell you this, up until the very last hour, Kaiser Soze was winning. It was the last hour. Hans Lander went first. So, as voted by you, the greatest original movie villain is Hans Lander.
Listen, I say this because... How can I say it? I say this because I believe Christoph Waltz's performance was just stellar.
So
and
good.
with that, I rate it. But, yeah, I mean...
Kevin Spacey wasn't exactly snoozing through this, though, bro.
No. Listen, I get that as well. But yeah, I don't think legitimately, if I'm very honest, and it goes by how offbeat I was with it, there isn't actually any shit films or performances in this. Like, they are all very highly, like, in terms of Rushmores, we really gave them a tough battle this past week. So yeah, thank you all for voting, because wow, that was a tough one. So guys, again, if you would like to vote for this week's topic for movies that critics love and audience hate, do head on over to @MovieMT_Rushmore, which is the Silver Screen Dudes Twitter page, or head on over to We Love Movies @Movie Polls for You, run by the absolutely awesome JT. Now, guys, once again, it doesn't mean you get 2 votes. We're going to be retweeting what JT does, so you only have 1 vote. And once again, your contenders are The Last Jedi, Hail Caesar, Captain Marvel, and King Kong. So, guys, once again, thank you very much. As well as the Twitter, we do have the Silver Screen Dudes on Instagram and Silver Screen Dudes on Facebook. Nico, what else are the Silver Screen Dudes up to, sir? You did allude to it in the beginning, but we'll touch on it again now.
So the Silver Screen Dudes also run our YouTube channel right here. If you're watching this in an audio-visual format, we do gaming live streams every single Tuesday and Thursday, and we'll pretty much be bringing you the Movie Mount Rushmore show in audio-visual format late on Monday or early on Tuesday, depending on when I can actually get the shit uploaded. The Silver Screen Dudes also host whenever there's a pay-per-view on the Ministry of Wrestling podcast, which you can find on all the same podcast platforms that you are listening to the Movie Mount Rushmore on, and you can find everything that we're doing at www.silverscreendudes.com.
That's the one, guys. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Do like, share, comment, and subscribe. My God, we have to do the comment, like, and subscribe again. But no, it's all about the YouTube, guys, and we really do appreciate it. Even if it's just in the background, the views help and get us spread out there. So you can still listen to us like a podcast, but open it on YouTube. It helps. And then download it on Spotify because you love us that much. But yeah, guys, until the next time, I am the one AJ Anthony Jordan.
I'm Nico Lero. Shout out to my Nicoholics.
See ya.